friends. So today we are doing question and answers together. I am so excited to do this with you gals. And I know I say gals like I don't know if there's guys that watch my channel other than like my dad and Jeff. Sorry guys, if you guys are watching. I feel like most of you that comment and like my stuff are all gals, so I'm just so used to saying you gal, so I apologize in advance if there's any guys watching this. I'm not calling you a gal, I promise. So I've got a nice little list of questions from you guys that we are going to discuss. So to go over, I'm just going to go over the topic of what some of the questions are. One is an Etsy shop. Second is a tour of little Stonehouse, starting a YouTube channel, what I use and how I do video editing. Do I just sell antiques? Do I have a full-time like career job, 9-to-5 job, corporate job outside of selling antiques? And then what brought me to Michigan and how did Jeff and I meet and are we married? So lots of good questions. I'm excited. I love gal chat time. I wish you guys were here. I'd be like, come on over and grab some tea and some coffee and we'll sit around and eat and snack and drink our coffee and tea and have some girl time. Just couldn't mind the Merle, as soon as Merle sees us eating snacks, she'd be like, oh, I want to join the girls. I want to eat snacks. She loves snacks, but she's such a picky chicken. It's got to be certain things. Like, she doesn't like eggs unless they're scrambled. She doesn't like plain rice. It's got to be flavored rice. Just certain things, and she's funny about it. Like, she doesn't like beg, but she'll like come up and like do her cute little chicken look, and she'll sit there for a couple seconds and then she like walks off. She's like, okay, fine, don't feed me. But when you feed her something and she doesn't like it, she like, you put her like, you put it down or you hold it out for her and she looks at it and she has like this disgusted look on her little chicken face. She's like, and then she'll just like, she'll either just won't even touch it and she'll walk away, or she'll kind of lightly peck it and then she'll like snub her beak and then wipe her beak on whatever is nearby and then she walks off. I'm like, you are such a snotty chicken. So you guys would get quite a chuckle out if you were eating snacks and Merle came over and started like wanting snacks too. You guys would get a good chuckle out of it because she always cracks me up. She's got so much personality for such a tiny little chicken. So anyways, I'm over here like yapping again and not getting to the Q&A. We are currently in my office DIY room. I have been working on remodeling this room for the last week, really past the year. But just in the last week, I've officially really buckled down and started remodeling this room. And I'll give you guys just a very quick sneak peek of it. Hold on, so the ceiling is pretty much done. And I have been, hold on, let me see. That might be a little bit better. So this will give you like a very quick sneak peek. There's the library wall. Here. So that is what it looks like as of now. So I'm hoping by tonight, if not tomorrow, it'll be officially done. I've got a library wall going around the top for more books, and then I got to put furniture in here and just little spot things here and there. So I have another video coming soon of this room DIY project renovation, so stay tuned. In the next week or so I should, as long as nothing else goes wrong, I should have this DIY video up. Okay, I feel like the lighting in here is like so wonky. Okay, I'm hoping the lighting's good, you guys. I even put jeans on because I feel like all my videos I'm in sweatpants working, and I'm like, I really need to look more sophisticated in my videos. I feel like I'm always in sweatpants and a messy bun. Like, I really need to look like, so I'm wearing jeans today for this, even though you can't really see them in the video. So, all right. First question. I'm so excited about this. Okay, so first question, Etsy shop. Yes. I started up the shop about 2-3 weeks ago. I'm still learning. So the shop is officially up. It took me a little bit to kind of figure it out and get everything up and going. I've got, I think, like 20 something things listed on my Etsy shop, and surprisingly, thank the good Lord, I've actually had 3 sales, like just random people, I guess, off Etsy that have bought something. So I'm like incredibly grateful for that, because I've heard like a lot of people, like it takes months to get your first sale, and I was like, oh God. I'm like, you put like a lot of time and thought and work into something, and you're like, it's kind of like starting a YouTube channel, it's like, when I started mine like a year and a half ago, I mean, it was posting every week. Every single week I had to like come up with stuff and record and edit. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is when you've already got like a very busy lifestyle, It's just trying to remember to record, and then just try to be consistent with recording and editing and getting something up every week. I really struggled with it, but it took a year and a half for me to finally get monetized. And then it took couple of months or something to get my first paycheck or something, and I'm still figuring out that side of YouTube. And it's not like you can like call and get like customer support or help or have them look into your account. That just doesn't exist for like Etsy apparently, or YouTube. You just get AI robots, that's a whole other, it irritates me. I'm like, I don't want to deal with AI. I want to talk to somebody. So yes, back to Etsy. I started about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I've got like 20-ish something items listed. I'm still like figuring out everything. I think I've got the shipping thing figured out, because obviously I had to ship 3 items. I got a thermal printer for label printing, and I used Pirate Ship for that. And so far, shipping is definitely more than I expected. When I started my Etsy shop, I watched some other like YouTubers talk about starting their Etsy shop, and a lot of them said to do free shipping, because apparently Etsy promotes your shop more if you offer free shipping. So they said just to kind of take that into consideration when you're pricing an item, kind of know what it's going to cost to ship it and include that in the actual price. So that's what I've been doing. But I still didn't really 100% know what the shipping was going to be. I kind of blindly like priced things, and then I sold 3 items, and I found out real quick that shipping is pretty expensive, even with Pirate Ship. It's cheaper than going to the post office, but it's still like, I think the cheapest thing I've had to ship was like $7, and the most expensive item out of the 3, which was a blanket, was like $20. And I was like, plus like Etsy takes a percentage off. So I'll say anywhere from like 10 to 15 bucks, they take off the listing for using Etsy. And then you got the cost of, you buying the item, and some stuff like I get for a really good price, and other things like thrift stores, you're still spending 5, 10, 15, 20 bucks for an item. So you have to take that into accountability when you're pricing, the total. So it's like some of my items on Etsy, I kind of feel bad because they're priced pretty high, but I think about like, okay, it cost me this much to buy it. It's going to cost this much is coming off the top for Etsy, and then it's going to cost this much to ship it. So it's like, so that's the only thing that I'm trying to figure out and adjust and kind of learn, because I don't want to like have high prices. I want people to be able to like, people like, I think about like myself, if I'm on there shopping, obviously you don't want to be paying brand new money for stuff. I want everyone to find a piece that they love and be able to afford the piece, and everybody's happy. Like, I don't want to get rich off of somebody, but I don't want to buy something for $5 and make $1 off of it, So it's kind of like just trying to find that like happy medium spot with pricing items on there. So I will link my Etsy shop below for you guys if you guys want to check it out. I'm hoping after I record this video and I get it uploaded, I'm hoping by the end of today I can get more stuff listed. I've been pulling totes out of the trailer, and like stuff that I've had at the antique shows, and other stuff that I was going to take to the spring show, and I was going to list some of that because I want to get quite a bit of stuff on there, just so, because I still have, I think, a couple of months till the next antique show, and that's going to be Davisburg, Michigan, for the My Michigan Antique Show. That's the first show of the season that I'm going to be attending. So I want to get some stuff posted, so maybe I can sell some stuff between now and then and make some extra money. That would be wonderful. So like I said, I'll link my shop down below, so you guys could just click the link And if for some reason there's an issue with that, if you, my Etsy shop is called Antiques at Tiffany's. I just love it. I just love the name of it. And I also have a Facebook page too, Antiques at Tiffany's as well. That one, I've only posted a few times on there. So I don't have a lot of content on there, but I'm working on it. I'm also working on getting like business cards and banners and stuff so I can have that at the antique shows. So when people, come to shop or they're walking by, they can scan the QR code with their phone and it takes them to my YouTube channel, or it takes them to my Etsy shop or Facebook page, or, I'm just trying to think of different ways to kind of like make it easy for people. Because last year I had that issue. People are asking, oh, do you have a shop? Oh, do you have? And I was like, no, I'm so new to this. I don't have nothing yet. This is it. So like this year I want to be more prepared. So that way I'm kind of, it seems more, professional, and I seem like I know what I'm doing a little bit more, even though I really don't. I'm just winging it. And I'm like, I have too many irons in the fire and not enough time. I always got 500 ideas that I want to do. That's my problem, is I'm like, I want to do 500 different things, and that I stress out because I'm overstimulated and I got too many things to do and not enough time. That I'm like, yes! So I don't know why I do that to myself. But anyway, so yes, got an Etsy shop. I'll link it below for you guys. Otherwise, it's Antiques at Tiffany's on Etsy and Facebook. And then second question. This is going to be a long video. I'm such a yapper. So second question is tour of Little Stonehouse, which is my home here in Michigan. I would actually love to do that. I think that might be next on the agenda. I am currently, like I said, remodeling this room. I just sort of finished the kitchen and the dining room and the middle room. The bathroom's pretty much done. I just got to finish the vanity. It's an old antique like dresser, marble top. So I've got some like critiquing to do with that to make it work in there. And then next on my to-do list is I'm going to repaint my bed, like the master bedroom, and then the spare bedroom, which is currently my closet. I'm going to repaint that, and then the spare bathroom upstairs. So not doing any like huge remodeling, like, taking out walls or new flooring, new countertops, as much as this house needs that, to be honest. I don't have the money for that right now, so I'm doing it in little increments, and I feel like the best way to make a big impact is just painting, because the paint colors in this house when I bought it are horrible. Just terrible. Like I don't know how I've lived with it for 2 years, but I'm like, I'm over it. I'm ready to remodel and get some different paint on the walls. So I'm doing like as much as I can on a budget friendly, like kind of scheme. Like I don't want to spend a lot of money, but I want to make the most out of what little bit of money I'm putting into it, if that makes sense. So I got a video coming up, like I said, of doing this room. I'm going to do another one for each of the rooms upstairs. I got another video that I'm almost done recording for the kitchen and dining room and middle room. So I have lots of videos that I've been recording. I just got to get them up. So I'm kind of hoping once the rooms are done, then I'll probably just go through and do a whole tour of the whole house. That way it's like, it looks more presentable, because right now it's just, there's not very good storage. So stuff's kind of like piled, like we're in totes, which I'm sure you guys don't mind. And I probably shouldn't care about, like no one's home is perfect. It's lived in, and especially when it's a small house with little like rooms and not a lot of storage, it gets tricky. Like you gotta be very creative. So it's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, gosh, I just need more storage. So I need to build build-ins, like cabinets and stuff to store stuff, and or just ongoing renovation projects in this house, and I'm trying to do it on a very budget friendly, very small budget. So at some point in the next month or so, I am going to try to do a tour of the house for you guys, because I would love that. One thing when I started my YouTube channel, that was kind of my mindset, because that's another question I'll get to here in a minute. I don't want to get too much into it and get squirreling off, but that was like one thing that I told myself, because I was so nervous about starting a YouTube channel. I was like, Tiffany, worst case, at least it's kind of like a video journal documentary, It's like I'm recording my day-to-day stuff, I'm recording renovations, I'm recording my life. So even if no one else wants to watch me or cares or likes it, at least like I have it for myself to go back and look at in 5-10 years. And if family want to, you know, watch and see what I'm doing, or friends, or, you know, people out of state, they can, you know, like, oh, this is what she's up to this week, you know. And it's kind of like, it helped me think of it like that. It helped me get over the, like, posting on YouTube and the whole world's gonna watch you and judge you and say mean things, you know. So that's kind of like what I have to tell myself, like, who cares? Worst case, if all else fails, at least it's for me. And I'll like look back and be like, oh, I remember when the house used to look like that. Oh, I forgot that we did that, you know. Same thing like with the Florida property. There's so much, I loved that I've recorded so much of that renovation down there. It makes me sad that so many of the first videos when the house was in really bad shape was recorded wrong, and the videos are all like messed up. I would like to go back and pull those videos back out of my like Google Drive and re-edit them and maybe repost them. Like, I feel bad posting them again because they're kind of in a series, but I feel like I need to try to re-edit them so they're visually better, because like there's, you know, they're vertical, and then other areas that are horizontal, but there's this little square and this big square. They're just, it's so bad, and I hate that they look like that. So at some point, when I have some free time, I would love to go back and re-edit and work on those. So stay tuned for that and a tour of Little Stonehouse. Okay. All right. Okay. This is the next question. That's right. So I was kind of, I guess, leaning into the starting a YouTube channel. I kind of goes back to what I was just saying a second ago. To be honest, I love it. It's actually, this comment came from a viewer called Hadley Farms. You and your daughter just seem like the sweetest people. I really hope at some point, like, we can meet. I know I say that about like every one of you. I really hope that at some point or another, you know, whether, you know, just randomly running into each other at estate sales or antique shows or wherever, you know, I would love to meet so many of you. You guys are like, I feel like it became kind of like friends and family, because you guys, you know, you watch my videos, you like, you comment, you always say such sweet things, and it's so wonderful. I'm so beyond grateful for you guys, so beyond grateful. And I was saying, I think a few videos back, where I watch other people, like I have other people on YouTube that I follow and watch, and I go through and I look at the comments from their viewers. And so much of the time, a lot of the people that watch, like, like one girl that I follow is Exo McKenna on YouTube. I love her content. And some of the comments that'll be on there, I'm like, gosh, there's some really mean people. Like, I get, you know, there's very opinionated people, but I think there's ways to say it where it's nice and not coming across like snobby, you know. And there's just I see like a lot of people that I follow on YouTube, the people aren't very nice. They're just, I'm like, oh my gosh. So it makes me really, really appreciate you guys, because it's like, I feel like I don't really have that on my channel, to be honest. I feel like you guys always say the nicest things. You're always so encouraging. You're so understanding. You're just really wonderful people, and I so appreciate you guys. I know I probably, but I really do, like, so appreciate you guys. So it goes back to starting a farm, because she was saying how she's thought about starting starting a YouTube channel. My God, starting a farm too. It's all kind of goes into the same thing. It's stressful. A lot of that goes into both. So starting a YouTube channel. My biggest advice would be just to do it, because I know you mentioned that you kind of wanted to do something about starting a YouTube video for your farm, and I just do it. That's honestly, I know everyone says that, just do it, but that's honestly the best advice I think possible, because to be honest, and being 100% real with you and all of you right now, it took me like 3, if not 4 years to start my YouTube channel. Like, no, and it honestly longer than that. Like, really, really like getting in my head about it and thinking about it and like pushing myself. It took me like 3 or 4 years to start a YouTube channel. I was in my head about it. I was back and forth about it. You get in your head, at least for me, I'm really, really bad about it. Like really bad about getting in my head and overthinking and playing out these worst case scenarios that'll probably never happen. But I feel like I've had a lot of negativity in certain areas of my life from people that really, I don't want to say cause damage, it happens in everybody's life. And unfortunately, then it affects you for many years later. And it just really affects how you see yourself and moving forward and doing things. And that was my issue. I just genuinely was like, oh my gosh, I just could not get the nerve and the guts to, I recorded my very first video was the chicken coop renovation glam video. And oh my God, I go back in that first video and I just cringe. I'm like, oh my God, I can hardly listen to myself because I'm like, oh gosh, but that's the fun of it. Nothing that you do for the first time is going to be perfect. And that was such a hard concept for me because I want everything to be perfect. I want to leave a great impression. I don't want people to see it and be like, oh my God, listen to her. Oh my gosh, can you, I just got in my head so much about it that I was like, oh, I just can't. I can't. People are going to say such mean things and they're just going to tear me apart. And I can't handle that because, I've dealt with that a lot in the past. I'm like, I just can't put myself through that. I just can't deal with the criticism and the mean comments that people are going to leave. And I just literally let that affect my life and making this decision to start a YouTube channel for 3 or 4 years. And I would start getting up the guts to do it. I would be like, okay, Tiffany, I'm gonna create a video, and I would get everything ready and I'd hold the camera up and I'd go to hit record and I would almost cry. I would just feel so awkward and embarrassed and I can't explain it. It was like this huge barrier that I could not get through to do it. I can't even explain it. I would literally cry and I'd be like so upset with myself that I couldn't do it. But then I would, get the good nerve to do it. And then I hit that wall again. And I did that so many times. And I'd have all these little videos that were like 5 seconds long of me just staring at the camera. And then it would end. And I'm like, oh, I get so mad at myself. And then, then I'm grouchy because I'm mad at myself. I'm like, I just can't believe you just can't talk on the camera. What is wrong with you? Then you're like, no, I need to start talking to myself in a kinder way and stop being so mad at myself and understand why I'm having this issue. And long story short, like I said, it took 3 or 4 years. And you know what ended up changing? It was like a switch flipped. And I'm not going to cry about it, but it really was I can't explain it, but I feel like I struggle so much with not feeling like, I don't know, you're good enough, or you're worried about, what people are going to say. And I really shouldn't care what people think or say, or, and I feel like I'm getting a lot better with that now. I feel like starting a YouTube channel has helped me tremendously because you guys are always so nice and say such sweet things that have been like, oh, people really do like me. They don't think I'm weird, or they don't, it's helped so much. But the one thing that flipped the switch for me is I'm going to get into a very long story here, and I apologize, but I feel like you guys need to know the whole story because I'm very much everything happens for a reason type of person, and everything in my life has really worked in that way. I don't know if you guys are religious or not, and that's okay. But I very much pray about things as much as I possibly can. And I really try to listen to what's inside. I feel like I'm getting off topic here, but so I try my hardest to always really just listen, just because when my mind's going like a million miles an hour all the time, and I'm always overthinking things, and I'm always over worrying things. And the one thing that I look back and I'm like, gosh, that was such a, like, meant to be, it was so meant to be. So when I was living in Hawaii, I'm going to take it way back. When I was living in Hawaii, because again, I wanted to do YouTube stuff, like I said, last 3 or 4 years. And I was living in Hawaii. It was 2019 and 2020. I was looking at different hairstylists because I wanted to go lighter with my hair. And there was this one hairstylist that I had been following for quite some time, but she was in Michigan. And I was like, I'm never going to live in Michigan. Okay, never going to live in Michigan. I was a tropical girl. Florida and Hawaii were my two places that I've lived and I loved. But her work, I don't know how she came up on my suggested thing on Instagram, but her work was phenomenal. I was like, I would almost book a flight to go to Michigan just to have my hair done by her because her work was phenomenal. And when I started looking into maybe booking an appointment with her, she wasn't accepting new clients at all. And every time I would check for, I don't know, a year, 2 years, 3 years, she was always like not accepting new clients. You couldn't schedule an appointment with her. And I was like, oh, darn it. I was like, okay, whatever. Well, fast forward, live in Hawaii, things happen. That's getting later on in the Q&A. And I moved to Michigan because the guy I was dating at the time lived in Michigan, and it was when COVID hit, and I'll get into that in a little bit. So I was living in Michigan, and I think at that point, I was like 3 hours from her, but let me see, I was living in Holland, I think at that point, and she was over past Flint, so opposite side of the states. And so I looked and she still wasn't accepting new patients. And I was like, well, okay. Well, the long story short, a lot of things happened. I ended up moving more to the central east side of the state, about an hour and a half from Flint. So not as far. So long story short, I'll get to that in a little bit about Michigan. I am now about an hour and a half from her. I think I just moved into this place. I just moved into this. I think I just closed on this. I can't remember. I can't remember because I rented this place for about a year before I closed on it, because it took a year to close on this house. So somewhere in that time frame, I was like, oh, let me look her back up. And so I looked her back up, and she, for a very short period, I think it was only for like a day or two, she was accepting new clients. New clients. And I was like, oh my God. So I like instantly booked, and I was like, I don't know. I just gotta get in. So I booked, and remember, because I was really struggling with the social media YouTube thing at that time, and I was really struggling with my full-time corporate job that I had been with for, was it 3 years at that point? I think 3 years I had been with this particular branch of federal government corporate job. And I was really, really struggling. I had a lot of stress going on because of this house and everything that was going on. I want to say with closing. And I had a lot of stress coming from work, and I was really burnt out, really exhausted. I had such a huge dream of starting a YouTube channel and posting my, day-to-day stuff that I do and fixing up this old house. And because at that point I hadn't had the Florida property, and recording, all my antique adventures and just sharing my life with people. And I just had such a dream. My ultimate dream is to fix up old houses. I have such a soft spot for old houses, old homesteads, old barns, and it's such a long-term dream of mine to buy places that people are going to tear down, that they don't want anymore, and restore them and bring them back to life, where people appreciate and look at them differently. You know, I just makes me so sad to see goes with everything, old antique furniture, anything old antique. I just hate to see old things disappear and not be appreciated and valued, because it's so much better quality, has so much more character. It's got history behind it. And I don't want that stuff to disappear. And I feel that same way with homes and barns, homesteads. So my goal since I've literally been a little girl has been to buy old, even before Fixer Upper, all those HGTV shows, before those were even a thing. I mean, I was like knee high to a grasshopper. That has been a dream of mine. Well, now it's a popular thing because everybody's doing it. But back when I was a kid, that was not a popular thing. And I've always had that dream since I was a little girl. And it's still a huge dream of mine. So that's kind of where this has grown into with my YouTube channel, because I really want to fix up old homes, starting with my own. I really want to rescue old pieces, you know, and get people to appreciate them and give them a second chance so they don't get broken, destroyed, thrown out, bulldozed. You know, I love old history. I love character. I love things with soul and history to it. So I'm getting off topic here. So during this whole process, I was really heavy on, I've got to get away from my corporate job. I'm so miserable, and this is such a dream of mine, but I don't have confident enough to do it. I kept trying, and I would end up just like crying and being upset with myself because I was so afraid to start. And I didn't really have anybody to talk to because no one else is kind of going through the same thing that I'm particularly going through, wants to start a YouTube channel, or, you know, so I just kind of felt like I had Jeff, and Jeff 100% supported me, but I was just really struggling, really I was exhausted. I was struggling. So long story short, I made that appointment with the hairdresser. So I think it was like a month or so before I was able to get in, and I get down there, and it was like the most amazing blessing. I sat down in the chair, and her and I just started talking, and we started sharing our lives, and I started sharing like my, you know, the last few years of all the stuff that had happened and my dream of this, but how I just could not. Okay, take two, Jeff called. I was like, terrible time to call. He called me on his lunch break to chat for a minute. Okay, so back to the thing. I'm clearly not I'm in a better place now. Okay, so what I was saying was how I was feeling so crippled, really, just from everything. And I was just really struggling with, like, I knew what I wanted to do, but I just couldn't get there mentally, really. You know, I just was just really struggling. And her and I were just talking on such a deep level about all of it. And she ended up just being the biggest blessing, because she truly, it was like she grabbed me by the hand and was like, we just talked, and we related, and she understood completely. She just was just such a true friend when I needed it the most. Like, it was 100% meant to be. I just felt like I was just really struggling, had so much going on. I knew I needed to start this new journey and chapter in my life, but I was just not, I just couldn't. I really felt like I couldn't do it on my own. And all of a sudden, she opened up her schedule, and, you know, it was like literally for a day, maybe not, I don't even think it was 2 days, because it seemed like as soon as I scheduled, that was it. Like, she just ended the new opening to clients. And then I got in, and it was just like we were meant to talk, and she just helped me so much, and we just sat there and cried and talked, and she was like, I'm gonna give you homework. She's like, do this for me. She's like, I want you, because, you know, when you have your hair appointment, you go back for follow-ups. And I think the next one was like a couple of months away or something. She's like, we're going to schedule your next hair appointment. She's like, and by your next hair appointment, she's like, I want to see your first YouTube video up. So she subscribed to my channel, and she was like, by your next appointment when you come in, I want you to have your first video up by that next appointment. She's like, that's your homework. That's what I want you to do for me. And I felt like by her saying that, and then that whole conversation where she was hyping me up and making me feel like I wasn't alone, and just having a girl to just talk and relate and just kind of cry it out with, it was the best thing that could have ever happened. It really was. And it was what I needed at that time. I don't think she'll ever know how big of a blessing she was. So she ended up staying my hairdresser for the next year, I would say year. And then she had a beautiful calling in life to become a mother, and they were able to adopt a couple wonderful girls, and but so she is now a full-time mother and homesteader and living her best life, and she's no longer doing hair. So I just felt like our paths were meant to cross at that very moment. You know, like, I followed her for so long on social media, and I knew I always wanted her to be my hairstylist, and I just had such a drawing. Like, I just got to go to this lady. Like I said, I wasn't even living in Michigan. I wasn't going to be living in Michigan, but I was willing to fly to Michigan to have her to do my hair. And then I end up in Michigan, and she opens her books just pretty much enough, just for me to get in. And because of her, that's how I ended up posting my first YouTube video. And I just can't put into words how much that impacted my life. And then from there, I just had this, like, I'm gonna do this, I know I can do this. And I just felt right. Everything about it has felt right. And I have just posted weekly, and for the first really year, it seemed like I didn't get hardly any views, and I wouldn't get hardly any subscribers. I would get like 2, maybe 3 subscribers, maybe like 1, maybe 2. Like, I was lucky if I got 3, like, it seemed like in a month period. And then I would lose 2, so I would gain like 3 and lose 2, or gain 2 and lose 3, and it was I was like, why is this so hard? I just, that it really affected how I kind of was going back to how I was feeling before this. Like, gosh, people must really not they must not like me. They must think that I'm like obnoxious, or I talk too much, or I don't know, all the things that go through your head about your insecurities. Like, oh, you think about, oh, maybe I'm ugly because I have this little gobbleneck thing that, like, I feel like being a woman, a lady, a gal, we're like our worst critics about like overthinking and criticizing ourselves. So everything goes through your head when you're, at least for me, when I started this channel, about all these people are gonna be watching me and making fun of me, and I don't know, like, you really get in your head. Like, at least for me, I really got in my head about it. So I just kept kind of like ignoring it, and like, whatever, Tiffany, I kept like telling myself, this is for me, this is, if no one else likes it, that's okay. At least I can go back years later and watch this, and watch kind of like my past and my history, and where things were, and how the house used to look. And like, I just deep down felt, and still feel, even though like I'm still very much starting off on YouTube, like, even though I'm monetized now and I'm so blessed to have like over 1,600 subscribers, it's still a very slow journey. It's like I'm a very upfront, honest, like, real person. I'm not one of those people that are gonna like gatekeep or like not be upfront about the struggle of things. My very first paycheck was, I got monetized beginning of November, and I got my first paycheck in January for YouTube, and it was $260. And since then, I have not had a paycheck from YouTube because you have to have over $100 for them to deposit it into your checking account. And for some reason, I don't know what is going on with YouTube. I can't figure it out. I've posted in groups, and it seems like I can't figure it out. It'll go up, like it seems like it's buffering around the $50 mark, and it'll go up to like $60 something, and then all of a sudden it'll start trickling back down, and it gets down around $40 again. It's like I almost have to post a solid video every single day to get it to like creep up $1 or $2 here and there. I don't know why. Like, and I see you guys are like commenting on older videos, and I see my views going up like on videos, so I don't understand why why I'm not making that much. And I noticed too, I'm wondering if it has to do with like, because I have different content. Like a lot of YouTubers focus on just home renovations and decor and decorating, and other ones just focus on shopping, thrifting, antiquing, and then other ones do just cooking. And you know, on my videos, my YouTube channel is kind of a little bit of everything, so I wonder if it's messing up the algorithm, and that's why like I'm not getting very many subscribers very quickly now. Because it seemed like I like end of last year, like end of summer, end of the year, I was getting a lot of subscribers, and I was getting a lot more like interaction, and things were really like, it was just, instead of going down, it was continued, like the gross like estimate of what you were going to get paid was going up. And then now it seems like, because I'm posting, I think at that point it might have been one particular type of video that I was posting, I don't know, but it seems like now because I'm posting like back and forth between like antique shopping and then renovating, and wondering if it's messing the algorithm up, and that's why. I don't know. So I'm kind of struggling right now with the whole income thing with YouTube. I don't know what's going on with it. So if you guys know, let me know, because I honestly have no idea what's going on with it. So I'm just continuing the posting journey and sharing things with you guys, and hoping that it'll kind of figure itself out and start growing more. I don't know. I'm, like I said, I'm learning this as I go, but I 100% think it's worth it. So to go back to Headley Farms, I think you should, because I even though like I'm kind of struggling with it, with you just posting farm stuff and like homesteading stuff, I think maybe it might be easier for you, because the algorithm will notice that's what your content is, and it's not kind of like mine where it's all over the place, and you might grow quicker than I did. And worst case, you know, look at it kind of like how I do, where at least it's a way to kind of like document your life, and you can look back, you know, in 5-10 years, even when your kids are older, be like, oh, I remember when we did that, you know. And that's kind of my thing, is like, I just love the idea of documenting and being able to like see vacations that we went on, and spending time with family, and working on the house together with my dad, and just all these different things. So kind of look at it like that. I feel like that really helped me with like the posting side of it. And then if you need a girlfriend to like hype you up or talk to you or to like bounce stuff back at them, let me know, because having someone to kind of like talk to about this stuff makes a world of a difference. It helped me so much to have my friend who was a hairstylist that time that I met. That I don't think I could have done it without her. I don't know. I 100% felt like that was so meant to be. So I think you should. I think you will absolutely enjoy it. Don't look at it as a job. Don't look at it as like a way to make a bunch of money, because it's like anything, it takes a long time to build. So just look at it as a way to document everything and enjoy the journey of it. And if you have questions, you need anything, you just need someone to vent to, feel free to message me. I would be more than happy to help another gal out with this whole journey. We can learn together. And next one is video editing. This one I won't be yapping about, as long as it's pretty straightforward. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm like all over the place, but I'm trying to like talk about the whole, you know, I want you guys to see the whole picture and kind of where it came from and how things started. And I don't want you to be like, oh, she's just another person that started a YouTube channel. It looks so easy, you know. Like, no, there's a lot of like struggling that led up to starting my YouTube channel. A lot of struggling and a lot of tears and a lot of just So, and I hear that other people struggle with the same thing. So I guess me sharing all this is I don't want you to feel the same way, or you to feel like you are alone with feeling like this with starting a YouTube channel or doing anything in life. You know, jumping into a new career, a new job, all this, like starting a YouTube channel, posting these, you know, being vulnerable on social media. That's all scary stuff because people can be pretty mean, very mean. So I don't want anyone that I'm around or is following me, or that's just, I guess just around me in general, to ever feel like that, because I know what that feels like, and the last thing I want is for you or anyone else to feel like that, because it's a really terrible feeling. It really is. And nothing worse than feeling like you're alone or no one understands, because I totally get it. And if you were here, I'd give you the biggest hug, and I'd be like, come over every day or once a week and we can record together. That's one thing. Like, I think that would be so much fun. If people live like kind of close by or wherever, like if they wanted to make the drive, that would be fine. Like, if I have friends or you guys live close by and you want to start a YouTube channel or something, but you're nervous about it, I'd be like, let's meet up. I will record, you can record, or I can talk in the video and I can record you, or whatever it takes to get you comfortable with getting into it. Sometimes you just got to break the ice, and sometimes it's just nice to have a person there to talk to while you're recording yourself, so you don't feel like a weirdo that's like, hey everybody. You know, it's like a really weird, especially when you do it in public. I still struggle with that. I'm getting better, but I still struggle with it. So I love the whole idea of helping others and making others feel comfortable, and just better about the whole situation, because I get it. I so get it. Okay, so back to the video editing. I'm getting off track again. I use an app for editing. I use another app for copyright-free music, because a lot in the beginning of my YouTube channel, I didn't know where to get copyright-free music, and all the music that I was selecting, unfortunately, was copyrighted. So a lot of my videos I'll never make money on, because they are copyright deemed. So CapCut is what I use for video editing. I actually just edit on my phone. It's pretty much formatted the same way. I don't know if any of you guys use TikTok, but it's the exact same editing format as TikTok. So very easy, very straightforward to edit on. It's by far, like, I've tried some other ones and they were extremely difficult and I did not like them. I was like, I do not have time to figure this out. There was just a lot, and I don't have Apple, I have Android, so I can't use the like Apple editing feature that comes with Apple products. So I use CapCut on my Android, and oh my god, CapCut on my Android phone. God, say that 3 times fast. It's, I want to say $100 a year. You can do it monthly or by the year. I think it's a little bit cheaper to do the yearly subscription, and I want to say it's like $100 a year. I love it. That's all I use. I edit on my phone. I do everything on my phone. It just makes life a lot easier. Okay, for copyright-free music, I use Epidemic Sound. And that's also a subscription. I want to say it's like $60, $100 a year for a subscription on that as well. I do the yearly subscription for that. When you first get on there and you're trying to find music, it's honestly a pain in the tush to find any good music. I mean, they send you the most lamest sounds and songs and music ever. You're like, this is horrible. I was really discouraged when I first got on there, because another friend of mine that does YouTube, that's what she recommended. And I was like, so I asked her and I was like, hey, how do you find your music? Because you've got good music. She's like, you just got to keep searching. And then as you save songs that you like, it will bring up more that's relatable to that. But I have an even better tip for you guys if you use Epidemic Sound, or I guess any other app. Get on your laptop, log into Epidemic Sound, get on your phone, and I'm sure there's other YouTubers that you follow that you like their music. You could use my videos if there's any music that you like. Play the music on your phone, like the video. So if you, like, for instance, you pull my video up and I have a song playing, you're like, oh, I like the song that she's playing in her video. Play that on you could do either your laptop or your phone, whichever, but you need both. And then, so say if you're watching my video on your laptop or your TV, play my video with the music playing in the background, and then pull up the Epidemic Sound app on your phone and hit the search bar where it listens to the music, and then it'll pull that music up. So then it'll tell you what song it is, and then you can save it and download it to your phone. So when you go to edit your next video, now you have that video saved. And then if it doesn't pull up, all the sounds that are on my phone or on my videos are from Epidemic. So if you search them on your phone or laptop, they will pop up because they came from there, and they're all copyright free, so you won't get dinged or anything like that. So they're free and clear. And then like other YouTubers, I like their music. Most of the time, I would say 8 out of 10, their music pops up on Epidemic Sound and I can reuse the music. Sometimes it doesn't because they got it on some other copyright free website platform. But if it doesn't show up being on their platform, it'll show you like the next few songs that are similar to it, and you can use those, or, you know. So to me, that was the easiest way to grow my song collection without having to like painfully keep scrolling through, you know, all their suggested songs, because they're terrible, let me tell you. I could spend hours and like find maybe one song that I liked. I was like, this is terrible. And that was the quickest way for me to get a good list of songs that I liked, was by listening to other YouTubers' music and then playing it on my laptop, and then having the record on my Epidemic Sound app, and then it would pull the music up, and then I would just save it. So there's that. And then the third app that I use for editing is called PhotoGrid. Again, I do all three of these on my phone. I don't use a laptop for any of them. PhotoGrid is a great way to make like thumbnail pictures, and you can do it. They have a free option, and you can still do this. I'll use all the things, do the same things, but the only problem is your thumbnail will have in the bottom right corner PhotoGrid, which kind of sucks. If you go down some of my older videos, you'll see where it says PhotoGrid. That's before I did the yearly subscription and I upgraded to Pro. You can do that. I think that's perfectly fine. To me, it doesn't bother. Like if I see other people that have PhotoGrid at the bottom of their thumbnail, I get it. Stuff's expensive and I don't want to pay for another subscription. I did that for a long time, and you'll see a lot of my pictures on my thumbnail on my YouTube videos say PhotoGrid at the bottom. Just recently, I got sick of looking at it, and I was like, I really want my channel to look more professional and like better. And so I upgraded, and I don't think it was that much. I think it was like $40 a year for the Pro version, where it gets rid of that watermark at the bottom. So that's the only three apps that I use for my YouTube editing. And then for my shorts, I use TikTok, and then I post it on TikTok, and then obviously it saves to my phone, then I just upload it to YouTube. Only problem is I don't know if it's copyright music until after I upload it, and then most of the time, I would say 8, 9 out of 10 times, it seems like it's fine, but sometimes I do get, it comes up unlimited or copyright, and usually I will just like delete the video, or usually I just delete it. But so that's how I do my video editing. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is gonna be a long video. I'm so sorry. Okay. Next question. We're getting there. I would say we're like halfway, but unfortunately, the last three topics are very, very in-depth conversation. Okay, so do you just sell antiques? Yes. Well, yes and no. Mostly antiques, vintage. There might be some newer stuff like clothes. Oh, I was like, oh, I was white. I mostly do, I guess, vintage antiques. It's kind of just whatever speaks to me. I try to get older stuff, but there is some newer stuff that I come across that I like, that I find, you know, yard sale, Goodwill bins, estate sales, you know, that I'm sure is not very old, that I'll pick up. Honestly, it's whatever speaks to me. I don't just pick up stuff that I think might, well, sometimes I'll pick up, like I say, mid-century stuff, that's not my style, but I'll pick it up because I know it sells. That would probably be the only time that I pick up things that don't speak to me, would be mid-century modern. But everything else, I buy it because I love it. And that's kind of my philosophy on it, is I don't want to buy things that I don't love, because my thought is if it doesn't sell, I don't want to be stuck with it. The nice thing about it is I feel like by selling things that I love, other people that love it too, that love that style, I feel like it kind of builds like a little community, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, mostly vintage, antique, some new stuff. Like a lot of the clothes that I sell like at the antique shows are vintage, and a lot of it's newer, you know. It just kind of ranges. Some of it's my personal stuff that I'm just downsizing out of my closet. Other stuff is stuff that I've picked up cheap at yard sales or estate sales or Goodwill bins. Usually I like going to the Goodwill bins for clothes, because that stuff is going to like the landfill, recycle, like it's on its last stretch of being like going away. So I feel like really bad for the Goodwill bin stuff. So I don't go there as often as I should, but that's a really good place to source things and rescue for sure. And I've gotten really good stuff from the Goodwill bins. Next question, do you also have a 9-to-5 career outside of selling? So that's actually a very interesting question. I have actually had, just up until the last, let me see, this is February. In October, I actually quit my full-time corporate federal government job. I have worked, literally, I know this sounds very exaggerated, but I have worked since I was 12 years old. When I was 12, I actually did two jobs when I was 12, all the way up until, let me start from the beginning. So when I was 12, I started working for a catering business with my mom, and I worked in the kitchen. I also started working for my veterinarian's stable. So I would go out there most of the time 1 day a week, usually it was on Saturdays because of school. And I would clean their stalls and clean their barn, and I would spend like half the day out there Saturday cleaning their stables after their horses. So I worked with the catering business with my mom until I was in my late teens, probably 18, 19, 20. I would say I worked doing catering for a very long time. I worked with my veterinarian stables from 12 until I was about 23, 24. Yeah, I would say early mid-20s. When I turned 18, I got a job as a server working at Cracker Barrel. I worked there sadly, or I want to say sadly, I worked there for a few short months before starting my medical job at a local radiology facility, where I worked there for, I want to say 7 years. 7 years, is that right? Yeah, I think 7 years, because I was there from, I think I started there when I was 18, just turned 19, and I left when I was 24. Is that right? 24. And then I moved to Hawaii. And then when I moved back from Hawaii with my now ex-husband, they offered me my job back, and I worked there for another 2 years until I moved back to Hawaii the second time at the end of 2019. And then, let me see. And then from there, I worked. When I lived in Hawaii, I actually worked at a place called Coral Fish. It's a huge fish warehouse where we sold all kinds of saltwater fish, freshwater fish. It was like a huge fish store. It was actually a really wonderful place to work. Every place that I have worked has been a wonderful place to work. I've never, which is going to lead into my later conversation about leaving my job. So let me see. Let me finish the job description first. So then when I worked in Hawaii, I lived in Hawaii, I worked at the fish store, and then, I don't know, a year later, I started working. My one friend got me a job working at Roy's Hawaii in Waikiki, and I worked there until I left the island in 2017. End of 2017, I think, is when we moved off island. So I worked there. I was actually very sad because I really liked that job too, and I really enjoyed living in Hawaii. So fast forward back to Florida. Lived in Florida for 2 years after I divorced my ex-husband, and then worked back at Lake Medical Imaging for those 2 years. And then into 2019, I had applied to go to college at the Windward Community College on Oahu in Hawaii. And then I got my job back working at Roy's again, but now instead of Waikiki, I was working at the location in Kailua because it was a new store that they had opened, and the manager got me, one of my good friends that worked there, and the manager got me back in, but at that location. So I worked there until COVID hit in 2020. That's a whole, gosh, that year, 2020 was a bad year. So, during, I want to say, was it March? I can't remember. Like, there's so much stuff that happened in 2020. I feel like everybody. 2020 was just a chaotic year. So 2020, I worked at Roy's in Kailua until COVID hit, and then everything got shut down. I got told that we were all getting laid off until, everything kind of got figured out with what was going on. And then in that same week, the gal that I was renting the bedroom from, I was told I had a week to get out because of illegal subleasing. And then in that same week, I got into my first ever car accident. So all within a week, I got laid off from my job. I got told I had a week to be out of my little apartment. And then I got into a car accident. So it was like, and I had a pet chicken, and it was during with COVID was obviously hitting. So everything shut down. There was no getting a job anywhere. There was no, finding a place to live because people were shutting, there was places on Marketplace and on like Realtor and Zillow for like rent, but you would message the people and they would be like, oh, sorry, we're not allowing anybody to come to the property to look at the apartment or just to look, because they didn't want to be around anybody because of COVID. So couldn't get a job. I couldn't find a new place to live, and I had a car that had got tailgated. And I had a pet chicken that I rescued. It was still a little chicken at that time, because someone threw this little chick in the bush when I was working at the restaurant. Like, this lady walked by and she chucked this chick in the bush, and it was just a little baby puffer. And I was like, so I ran over there, and there's this little puff ball peeping up a storm because it's distraught. So I grabbed it, put it, I think one of the girls in the back that I worked with, she had like a shoe box. There was some kind of box, I can't remember. But we put the chick in a box and put like a little towel in there, and I put it behind the host stand. Thank God I had wonderful management and coworkers. They were like, it's Hawaii, there's wild chickens everywhere. Just stick it there until your shift's done and take it home. So I did. Long story short, the chick came home with me, and his name was Bernie, and I just love that little chicken. He went to the beach with me. He went all over. Like, everybody in Kailua, the lifeguard, everybody knew Bernie. Everybody got pictures with Bernie. Bernie was a very celebrity chicken in Kailua Beach. So I was not about to get rid of my chicken, to try to find an apartment, because he was my pet. At that point, I thought it was a hen. I didn't realize it was a rooster. Bernie ended up being a boy, unfortunately, later on in the story. So, rewind, I want to say 2 weeks prior to this whole fiasco going down in that week, when I was working at the restaurant, there was a gentleman that come walking in, and he was sitting at the bar, and he was watching me work, and I was like, what does this guy want, So I was, doing my typical job. And I was a hostess at that point. So, I'd seat people and come back, and I'd help, the servers and stuff, bus tables. And so I was just kind of, just doing a little bit of everything. And by the end of the night, he comes up to the host stand. He's like, hey, I'm such and such. It's nice to meet you. I can't remember what all he said, but I remember him being like, I've been watching you all night, and you're a really good worker. You've got really good work ethic. He's like, I don't know if you're looking for another job. He's like, but I work for the Marine Corps base, and I'm the director that kind of oversees, like, getting people jobs. And he did like, I forgot what all he did, but he was like a director over like something with the Marine Corps base. And he was like, here's my card and information. If you ever, want a job, outside of this, he's like, let me know. He's like, we would love to have you. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. I was like, I told him, I said, at this point, I'm happy where I'm at. I'm making enough to pay for because I was paying, out of pocket for college. And then I had my room that I was renting. And I think the rent was only $500, I think, is all I was paying to rent that bedroom. It was like $500-600, I think. So I was like, the nice thing about it was my job was like 3 minutes from where I lived, so I could walk to work. So it was very convenient. Everything was right there. And then if I went and worked on the Marine Corps base, it was like it wasn't that much farther, but it was like, I don't know, another 10-15 minutes or something. I can't remember. But I was like, I like being able to walk if I have car issues or whatever. So then fast forward 2 weeks later, COVID hits, I lose my job, get in a car accident, and I have nowhere to go in less than a week. And so long story short, I messaged him and I was like, hey, this is Tiffany. We met, the other night at Roy's. I don't know if the offer still stands, but this is my situation, unfortunately. If the offer still stands, I would love to join you guys, with working, I can't remember what all I said, but so he ended up messaging me back and was like, hey, absolutely, let me make a phone call and I'll call you right back. And I was like, oh, okay, that was fast. So then he calls me right back. He's like, hey, I have a interview with you tomorrow with the director of the commissary on the Marine Corps base. Can you make it at, this time or something? I said, absolutely, I'll be there. So next morning, I drove down. He gave me gate access. I got into the base. I went to the commissary, and I was hired on the spot. Oh no! Wait! I went. Rewind. I forgot the whole living situation. Okay, so within 24. Okay, so 48 hours. So when I found out that I had been. I always get, because there's so much that happened in that like 3 or 4 days. There's so much happened. When I found all this stuff that like hit, it was like within a week all this stuff hit, and then within like 24 to 36 hours, my whole world went from being flipped upside down. I didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't know what I was going to do for a job and money and trying to get my car fixed. And I was just like, oh my God. It's just one of those things, you're so stressed out that you just kind of stand there and you're just kind of like, well, this sucks. You're like, there's no point screaming, crying, being upset, like hibernate. I wanted to hibernate, but it's just like, it is what it is, I guess. It's like life happens, it'll work out, and it sure did. Because, so when all that happened, and I, instantly started like looking for a house to live. So this is before the job situation, before I reached out to the director of the Marine Corps base again. So this is like a day prior. So let me get it back in the timeline here. So I found out all 3 of those bad things happened. So then I'm instantly like, my first priority needs to be housing. I've got to find a place to live to get my chicken and egg into. Just so I have a place to like, just a place to live that's not in my car, and then I'll figure out the job situation. I mean, tackle the main things, because I had a savings, I had a nest egg. That's always my number one advice for everybody, anyone, especially young gals. Always have a nest egg. Because stuff happens and you never know what's going to happen, and the last thing you want to do is be stuck homeless, relying on somebody and having to put up with something and you don't have a way to get out. Or it's just always so good to have a nest egg for anything. Life likes to throw everything at you, including the front door. So it's always good to have a nest egg, because you never know, things happen. And so before I moved to Hawaii, I worked a ton of overtime at my medical job. That whole year before I moved, I worked as many hours as they would possibly give me, as many days, 6-7 days. I mean, I worked, and I paid everything off, and I had a good sized nest egg that way I wouldn't be so stressed, because when I went over there, like, I knew I had a job and I knew I had a place, but I had to buy a car and I had to get situated with college and I had to buy all new stuff for my room, and plus, you know, I just wanted to have a nest egg. So more of the story, always have a nest egg. So I had my nest egg, and my thought was if I could at least just get a place to live for a month, 2 months, until I can kind of figure out what's going on with work, what's going on with this whole pandemic thing, I can figure out if I'm staying here on island or if I need to move back to the mainland, whatever. So my thought was, let me find a place to live. And unfortunately, like I said, no one was letting anybody come in because of COVID, and they don't want anybody showing up to their house or their property or being exposed to anybody. So the very first listing that showed up was this place up in like Kahalu North, like Kaneohe area, and it was like twice my budget. I was paying like $500-600 a month, and this place I think was like $1,250 a month, and I was like, I can't afford that on my restaurant pay and pay for college and pay for I was way out of my budget for my monthly income. And it was way farther. It was like 20-25 minutes, I think, outside where I was already living, where everything was at, but it was closer to my college. So I was like, so long story short, I was like, it marked a lot of boxes because it was nice. It was out away from stuff, and I don't know, I had a good feeling about it, but I was like, the price scared me. Especially not having a job now, I was like, I definitely don't want a $1,200, almost $1,300 a month payment. So I kept looking, kept messaging, I messaged so many people, and I kept getting the same response of, no, sorry, we're not allowing anybody in right now. And I'm like, oh my God, now I have, I think, 4 days until I got to be out of my little apartment thing, and I'm not having any luck. So finally I was like, let me message that first listing, that one that was $1,250. And I don't know why, I always had a good feeling about it, but the price just scared me because of this situation. So I messaged her and I was like, hey, and usually I don't like spill my guts out to like a random person on Marketplace, you know, but I was like, hey, this is my situation, you know, blah, 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 and I was like, I have 4 days until I gotta be out, you know, because this is the situation here, and I've got good credit, I've got lots of referrals, I've got, you know, like, I'm like no risk at all, I'm very clean, very quiet, I work, I go to school, I come home, I'm very quiet, like, I'm not a partier. And so she immediately messaged me back, she's like, absolutely, she's like, I want to say it was the same day, she was like, I'm available this afternoon if you want to come look at it. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. I'm just happy I can just go look at a place. Someone messaged me back, and someone actually is going to let me come look at their place. I was like, oh my God, I'm so grateful. I was so happy. So I get there and I meet her and her husband, and they are the most wonderful people. I just loved her. And then she shows me the little studio apartment, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the cutest place. I just loved it. It was just cute. It was perfect. And at that point, I was like, you know what? It's way out of my price range. I can't afford this with my job. But I really don't even have a job because I got laid off. So I'm like, I have a nest egg. At least I could live here for a couple of months, you know, without really getting low. At least give me a base to at least have a place to sleep and figure things out until things get figured out. There's a lot of moving parts at this point. So then I look at her and I was like, well, there is one problem, because a lot of places are not pet friendly. You know, renting, most places are not pet friendly. And if you do have a pet, they charge quite a bit more per month to have a pet in the place. Let alone a chicken, okay? Like, most people have a cat or a dog. Not very many people have a pet chicken that lives in the house. So I was like, hey, I'm really like, I don't even know how to ask this, but I do have a pet, and it's not just any pet, it's a pet chicken. I'm like, I feel so awful asking you this. I'm like, would it be, you know, like, I feel like we like, you know, like, like, I really like you, I love your place, but unfortunately I do have a pet chicken that lives in the house. I'm like, but he wears a diaper, so he's very clean and he's very quiet, or she, I thought one of the, like, she's very sweet, very quiet, like you won't even know she's there. And she looks at me, and then all of a sudden I look at her husband, and her husband smacks his forehead, and she looks at me, and I look at her, and she was like, and she just lit up, and I was like, and she was like, oh my God, I'm a crazy chicken lady too, and I was like, ah, and we were both like, ah. It was just like the craziest meant to be situation of like you could ever imagine. I mean, we just instantly became best friends. I was like, oh my God, this was meant to be. I mean, I just felt like crying. I was like, my chicken and I have a home. Now we have new chicken best friends. So then she instantly starts sending me pictures of tutus and diapers that she made for her chickens. Then I got to send her a picture of my chicken. And it was, so long story short, I was able to move in like, I don't know, in like 2 or 3 days. She got everything ready, and I moved in, and then I'm like, okay, great. Now I got a place to live. And the nice thing about it, she let me do month to month. So it wasn't like I was tied into the 6-month or 12-month lease. She was like, no, month to month. I'm like, thank God, because given my situation, I was just trying to like everything work out like it should. And as always, it always does. And so then I instantly get on my phone and I message the gentleman that was the director of the Marine Corps base, and that's what I was saying earlier. And then I ended up getting the job at the commissary, and I started work within, I think, a week or two. It was like really quick. They got me right in, and it turned out, I guess, the contractors that they had, there's something happened at Filters, so they had to hire a bunch of, like, it was just crazy how things, I mean, doors were slamming, and at the same time, doors were opening. It was the craziest thing, and I felt like if I would have been a couple of days, late, it probably wouldn't have happened. And that's kind of how it was with the commissary. Like, they just lost their contract, and also now they were frantically looking for X amount of people to get in to start within like a week. I think it was like within a week, or I want to say it was within a week. And because they needed people to fill shelves and to do inventory and all this stuff. And so they got me in, and they had all these other people start at the same time. So we all pretty much started day one together. And okay, so long story short, I ended up starting. I started with everybody, and my first paycheck was more than enough to pay all of my bills for the entire month. And then the second paycheck was just extra to put into savings. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. When I say, like, everything happens for a reason, I mean, like, doors close and all this chaotic stuff happens, and you're, like, thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to get through this? Like, you panic. And I feel like with everything that's happened in my life, I feel like this story has repeated itself time and time again in my life. My entire life has been these type of scenarios. I mean, doors are always closing, things are always happening, and I'm like, why are these happening? And I feel like I just always get flipped upside down, but then amazing things happen, and it always ends up being 10 times better than it was before the door closed. And I feel like now I'm 32 years old, and I feel like I'm finally realizing in my life of 32 years of living to stop worrying about things. Everything happens for a reason. Just pray about it. Just let God handle it. Everything will happen when it's supposed to happen, how it's supposed to happen, when it's supposed to happen. And to me, that was like, that time was such a, like, oh my God, like, it all could not have happened at a better time. And I did. It really set me up where I made phenomenal friends with her and her husband, and I still visit them. You know, they have their place in Hawaii, but they now have a place in Tennessee, so I always try to stop by and see them. And they're like family to me. I just love them. Actually, I have not seen them in a while. I need to, next time I go to Florida, I need to make a stop and visit them for a day or two, because they really are like family. But so much of that, it just was chaotic. So back to working at the commissary. So that was like one of the best jobs I ever had, besides working at the medical job for 7 years. Every job that I've had has always been a great job. I've always worked with phenomenal people. You know, you always have one here and there that are kind of like, okay, you know, you always have that one in every crowd that you're like, you need Jesus. But for the most part, I've always worked with phenomenal people that are like family. They're not even just friends, they're family. Like my medical job that I was at for 7 years, it's called Lake Medical Imaging in Florida, in Central Florida. That's the place that I worked for 7 years. They are family. 100% love everybody that I worked with there. When I go back to visit, I like to see them. And unfortunately, there's a lot of like new people now. A lot of people have retired, so it's not like it used to be. But I've always, there's nothing like having a good work family. I just love my work families. My top two would be my Lake Medical Imaging family in Florida, and then my commissary job in Hawaii. Both jobs have got me through a lot in my life. My Lake Medical Imaging job was there for me when I was going through my divorce. They were actually there for when I broke up with my first boyfriend. They were there for me when I went through my first divorce. They were there through just so much growing. Like, even I had a couple of miscarriages. They were there for me with that. They were just there through, I think I was like 18, 19 years old up until like almost my mid-20s, or really, yeah, almost late 20s, because of 7 years, the 2 times I worked there. They really watched me grow so much as a person, and they were there for so much of it. So we were like family. Like, I talked to them like I would talk to my family. They knew everything about me, and I knew so much about them. We did stuff outside of work. A lot of them I spent holidays with. I just love them. Like, they're family to me. And when I started at the commissary, it was the same thing. We all started at the same time. We grew, we learned, the job. We learned a lot about each other. And they were there for me when my mom died, because my mom passed. I think it was like March when I started at the commissary in 2020. My mom went into the hospital in May, end of April, May, beginning of May. Because my mom was in the hospital for a month and a half in Florida when I was living in Hawaii. She was in the hospital under the ventilator. She was on a ventilator for a month and a half. So she was under for Mother's Day when I passed my first semester of college. She was in there through a lot of first that I couldn't talk to her because she was under. So my commissary work family was there for a lot, because I was struggling with college because of my mom. I was struggling with the whole situation being out of state with my mom. I had a lot of family issues, with my brother and them not communicating with my mom in the hospital. I had my aunt, telling me other stuff, and I was trying to listen to like both sides, and it was just a lot of family turning against family, and they're mad at me for not being down there, and I'm like, I only have so much vacation. If I leave now, then I can't come later if something happens. Like, I really can't just come home. And it was a lot. And my work family was there for all of it, and they were there when I got the call that and I was working night shift on top of it. So working nights while handling all of going to college and handling everything with my mom being in the hospital. And every phone call I felt like I get or I would make, it was bad news with, her. And then they want to do open heart surgery because they couldn't get her off the ventilator, and that's a whole. If you guys want to know more about my mom's story, comment below and I can make another video because that's a lot happened in that month and a half. So long story short, I got the phone call at like midnight. I want to say it was like 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. It was late. It was like mid-shift. And I got the phone call from a nurse saying that they didn't think she was going to make it another day or two and that I needed to fly home at like stat. And they were having a hard time keeping her alive for me to get there. Things took a turn and I had to come home. My commissary family was there for that whole month and a half of dealing with hospitals and family stuff. And they were there when I got that phone call. And I remember them all stopping what they were doing, coming out of the aisles, and my supervisor was there, and they just held me and hugged me. And I remember just crying and almost just got to, just like, you cry so loud, it's almost like screaming, you know. And just, oh my God, it was the worst absolute feeling in the world. And my supervisor was like, just leave, don't worry about it, I'll take care of your leave. She's like, don't worry about it. And long story short, she ended up getting all my coworkers together and they had a meeting, and right before I left to get in my car to head to get, airport stuff figured out to fly home, my coworkers ended up my supervisor, all of them got together and they ended up like putting aside, I don't remember, I want to say it was like $2,000 or something that night, and they handed me an envelope and they said, I don't remember, they were like, we're thinking about you, we're here if you need anything, hopefully this helps with funeral stuff and flights, and because I think it was like, it was way over $1,000 just for me to fly home. And they just, oh my God, I remember bawling about that. I was like, it was so nice. So then my coworker ended up picking me up from my house and driving me to the airport. That was so wonderful. I mean, they could not have been a better work family ever during that whole situation. I mean, the best group of people. I just so beyond blessed for them to have had them at that time. I wish I could have had them as my forever work family along with my like medical family for the rest of my life. They're just wonderful people. Just love them. So then, let me see. So long story short, I couldn't get a flight out that like morning. I had to wait till till that evening. So Saturday evening. So I got the first flight out and I was flying from Hawaii. My first labor was in Dallas, Texas. And I just remember thinking like, gosh, if I could, like, maybe once I get there and she could hear my voice and I can like touch her and maybe sing a gospel song or something, something would turn around or a miracle would happen or something, I was just trying to be very positive and hopeful and not spiral and cry on a plane. So I get to Dallas and as soon as I could get my phone on, I can't remember if it was I think I found out on Facebook someone posted, I think that's how I found out my mom died on Facebook, because someone posted a status like, you will be greatly missed, can't believe you're gone. It was something, It was something like that. So I can't remember who it was or what it said, but I remember like not saying anything, and then I got on Facebook, and that was like the first thing that popped up on my Facebook was someone saying like something like that about my mom, and I was like, what? And then I remember messaging, I can't remember if it was my brother or my aunt or who it was, and they were like, yeah, she died at 6 o'clock, so I think it was like 6 o'clock this morning, and at that time I think it was like 10, 11, I don't know, it's time change, and I can't remember, and I was like, because I just landed, and I just remember like, the feeling and weight of that was just something I don't wish on anybody. And then the second flight from Dallas to Orlando, and then my dad picking me up, and then the guy that I was dating at the time, he was such a sweetheart. He flew from Michigan to Florida to meet me there, to be with me during that whole time. I'm like so forever grateful for him for being there, because he really was like he was such a good, out of all the guys that I've dated, he was like one of the better ones that I've dated. We just were really kind of two completely different people. He's a great guy. I still love and care about him, but we're just two completely different people, really. And that's okay. It's good to know that, and to mutually realize that, and, you know, go our separate ways. And I don't know how he's doing now. I hope he's doing good. But at that time, we were together, and he honestly was just a wonderful person for that point of my life. I could not have asked for a better person to be there, because he really was very, very nice and helpful, and for him to fly down to be with me for that. And there's a lot that happened with my whole mom. So like I said, if you want to know the whole story about my mom, let me know, and I'll make a separate video of that. So then my dad picked me up, so then we go to the property, and I was down there for like 2 weeks, and it was a whole thing. We had to sell stuff, have an estate sale quick to like raise money for property taxes, and there's a lot that it goes into, like with the whole issue with the house and my brother, and why the house is the way it is now. So that's a whole, again, if you guys want to know more about that, comment below. I'd be more than happy to share like the whole story of my mom and the hospital, and the whole like what really happened. Because honestly, there's like a lot of negligence that happened at that hospital. And then the whole like what started of the Florida property after my mom passed, and I'd be more than happy to share that with you guys. So back to my work family. So we ended up working together, and we worked together until I got a job. I got several job offers, actually, like all over. I was wanting to move back to the mainland because COVID was getting really bad. It was getting really weird over there with like politics stuff and controlling, and I was starting to get really freaked out about being stuck there and dealing with a lot of like just how things were going. And I was just really worried, like the food situation, the stores kept running out of food, and then having to deal with stuff with my mom, like with the property, and every time I'd fly back, like I would have to pay out of pocket to get COVID tested, and then I would still have to be off of work for 2 weeks before I could even start back at my job. So not only would I be gone for 2 weeks in Florida, then I would have to come back and be off work for 2 weeks to, you know, because I couldn't be around people, even though I tested negative for the test. It was the cost of the flight, and then losing money, and then my mom's dog, I was wanting to fly the dog over, and that was a whole rigmarole trying to get the dog over. So finally I was like, this living on a rock out in the middle of the ocean is becoming really expensive, and really, at that point, I really felt like the wind was shifting, the page was needing to be turned. I had a really strong push, like I usually do when it's time to make a jump, something needs to change. that it was time for me to leave. As much as I didn't want to leave Hawaii, and I love Hawaii with every part of me, that place will always have my heart. I cry when I go there. I cry when I leave. Hawaii is such a special place to me. And so I love the island. I love the people. I just love Hawaii. That is always going to be my forever heart state. But at that time, I was like, I felt the push that I needed to leave. So I started applying to different federal jobs, all on the mainland, because I really wasn't sure where I wanted to move. I just knew that I wanted to be off the island. And I didn't really want to go back to Hawaii. And I really didn't want to go back to Florida because born and raised there, I really didn't want to go back. I'm like, I spent so much time to get out of there to go to Hawaii. I'm like, I wanted to live anywhere but Florida. So I got, I don't know, several different job offers in different states. But the one in, I actually had two different ones in Michigan. I had one for Grand Rapids. And then I had another one for, I think it was Ann Arbor. I think I had like two different ones in Michigan. And I had, of course, other ones in different states. But the Grand Rapids, I won't give the name of the place that I worked because I'm leading into that job and why I quit the federal government and my corporate job. And I don't want to give a name and then get in trouble for it. So long story short, I had a great feeling about the Grand Rapids location. So that's what I ended up taking. And it was still like, I don't know, 2 hours, 3 hours from where my boyfriend was living at the time. So I'm trying to think how to make this as quick as possible because I feel like this is like a 2-hour long video at this point. Like, I'm so sorry. You guys are getting my whole like backstory life here. So we ended up moving to Holland, Michigan, so that way I'd be fairly close to working at the Grand Rapids location because his job, he traveled all over, so it didn't matter. And I wanted to live in Holland. So long story short, I started at this job, and from like day one, it went from like not having a good feeling about it, and it just progressively got worse. The people, the atmosphere there was not like any job that I have ever came from. And I think, and then after I would say like 3, 4, 5 months of being at this place, and this is how I met Jeff. So this is leading into what brought you to Michigan and how did you meet Jeff? So this is all kind of like, it seems like I'm like going on, but it's all kind of the same question, but it's the answer for like all of it, kind of. I'm just giving you the story from kind of like beginning to end. There's a lot more in depth with all of it. If you guys want to know more, let me know. Ask below. Be like, hey, we want to know more about blah, blah, blah. And I'd be more than happy to do another video. I just feel bad because this video is getting really long. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I got a really chaotic life. So after 4, 5, 6 months of working at this particular place, I felt like I had been slapped in the face with a 2x4, and I had the most horrible culture shock. Because I felt like every job I've had prior was a great job. I worked with people I trusted, people that I loved. We all had each other's back. Like, I mean, when I was going through my divorce, I mean, the girls were like, my one friend was there. She was there with the police to get my stuff out of the house. The other ones, well, you know, they came back when they saw me pull out my car full because I went to let them know why I couldn't get back to work. That's a whole other story. And they came in, they're like, well, whose asses do we need beat? You know, like, we got you. You let us know what you need and we will back you up. And like, I just had the best work family. I know I keep saying that, but I did. And to go from being with those types of people in that kind of work environment where I was so involved with, I love my job, I love my people, and then coming here where it was very dog eat dog, you had to watch your back, you couldn't trust anybody, everyone was very manipulative, it was very much, no one watched out for each other, it was just so malicious. I can't even describe the type of toxic harassment type work environment that came from working from that place. The plus side, at least at that particular location, is that's how I met Jeff. The 3 people that I worked with at the front desk were wonderful. I worked with 2 gals and a gentleman, and they were genuinely wonderful people, and I'm very grateful that I had them to kind of like talk to and kind of be like, because they were really good people. I'm very grateful that I had them. So how Jeff and I met, we start here and then I'll move forward with this conversation with the story. So Jeff and I met there at that office, and I actually ended up getting placed on his team, and we had the best medical team. We had the best LPN, we had the best nurse, we had a wonderful team, wonderful team. They were like my backbone. I love them. They're still like family to me. There wasn't a whole lot of people that I trusted at that facility, but I trusted my team and I trusted those 3 people that I worked at the front line with. That's it. That's like all I trusted at that entire huge facility. Everybody else was very much, how do we screw someone over to get higher up, and like leadership would make things like, well, if you report this person or if you catch any of these people doing something, then I'll give you a bonus, or they would like buy you things to try to get on your good side, to try to get information from you. And they'd go from, we had different teams, like collared teams, and the one supervisor would go and get information, like personal information from one team, like particular people, and then she'd go to the next team and talk about that person or those people with the next team, and she would just go down the line, and it was like that everywhere. The leadership and it was just like a cesspool of toxic. How can we I've never had a job where I cried going into work and I cried getting off of work. And I had like an hour and a half drive, about an hour and a half drive from where I lived in Fremont at the time to Grand Rapids, and like South Grand Rapids. I had a heck of a drive getting to and from work every day. And then, of course, driving in the winter with the snow, and I'd have to wake up really early to, get to work, and then dealing with that level of stress. And because of that, a lot of people were quitting, so then it was down to like me and one other person. And sometimes, he would call in, like pretty regularly, which I totally get, because that place was so mentally, physically, emotionally exhausting. And so then a lot of times I would come into work and I would be the only person working 5 people's jobs. So I'd be handling 5 teams, plus, you got 100 plus phone calls coming in a day with people that need help and, screaming at you because they've been on hold for 20 minutes. And then I got a stack of paper this long that management is getting mad at me because I'm behind on. Then I've got 10 people in front of me because they need to be checked in, or they're having questions or issues, or they're upset because they've been waiting 10 minutes to be checked in. And I'm like, it's just me, and sometimes they could get someone to come over and help, but it's 5 people needed to be up there. 5 people. And most of the time it was just me. Maybe, the other person too, but a lot of times I was up there manning down a 5-person job by myself, and then management would be mad at me because I'm behind on my training, TMS schedules, things. It's completely irrelevant to my job. So it was just like every day being barked at and talked to like I was an idiot. I didn't know how to do my job. Meantime, I'm the only one that showed up that's doing 5 people's jobs, and I'm keeping a smile on my face, and I'm trying not to cry because I'm being screamed at on the phone, screamed at in my face. Then I've got management behind me. Hey, you're behind on this. I'm like, I just wanted to scream. I was like, what is wrong with these people? What is wrong with this place? This is the most dysfunctional place I've ever worked. It was such a culture shock, you guys, to go from my other jobs where we all backed up each other, helped each other. One person was struggling, we jumped in. Like, it was such a smooth oiled machine. We just worked. And then to come here, and I was like, oh my God, what is happening? Because this is not it. And I stayed there way longer than I should have. So that's how I met Jeff. Jeff ended up being put on his team, and we worked together for, I don't know, a year, 2 years. I can't even remember. We were a great team. And then it got so bad with the harassment and just I could not take it anymore. I was just so mentally exhausted from that job. And at that point, I had moved my horses from where I was living in Holton Fremont area over to where I'm living now, because I was trying to save money because of boarding, I think, went up again or something. And I was like, I had the 2 horses. So Jeff's like, well, I have room at the farm over here if you want to keep the horses here for free. He's like, and just help fix up the farm or kind of help around the farm in terms of like, board. I said that would be great. So it saved me, I don't know, I think it was like $600 or something a month. I can't remember. But so I ended up moving the horses all the way over here. But then the bad side of that was now I'm driving an hour, and I'm just going to say an hour and a half because traffic was usually really bad in Grand Rapids. So I drive an hour and a half from where I was living in Fremont to Grand Rapids, work 8 hours, being screamed at, dealing with 50 things, just nasty behavior. And then I would drive about an hour and a half from there all the way up to the farm here to take care of the horses, help around the farm. And then I would drive another hour and a half, about an hour, a little over an hour, back home at night to get a shower, pack lunch, blah, 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 and get ready for work the next day. And I would do that 5 days a week. And then, of course, I'd usually come on Saturday to spend a full day with the horses and work and stuff. And I did that for months and months and months. And I was exhausted. I was getting like 3 to 4 hours of sleep, and then dealing with all that stuff at work. I don't know how I didn't lose my, I don't know how I kept it together dealing with, I mean, I could really go into detail about like how the individual behaved, like the things that people were doing. There's so many people after were like, you should have documented everything, because you would have one heck of a lawsuit if you would have documented everything from the beginning to when you left. You would have had even though it's federal government, they said you would have had a heck of a lot. And I know I would have, because there was so much stuff that I'm like, I mean, I'm not the type of person that likes conflict. I don't like stepping on toes. I don't like I'd rather just, most of the time, I will just take it and I'll turn my cheek and I deal with it. But dealing with that for so long, I was just sick. My soul was getting sick. My heart, just physically, mentally, I was getting sick. So I ended up transferring up to another location of about 45 minutes from here to get away from that place, because I was like, I just cannot deal with, I was just sick. I was just so over it, you guys, so over it. So then I was like, then I would be closer to the horses, the farm, and I knew I wanted to move because I think rent was going up now at the place that I was renting where my horses were originally, over there in the Fremont Holton area. And the guy that I was dating at the time, him and I just agreed to separate and go our separate ways. So a lot of things were happening. we kind of helped each other like pack and split everything and helped him move into his place. And then I got my stuff. And then I was looking for places over here. And then that's when Little Stonehouse popped up. Little Stonehouse was for sale on the market for quite a while, actually, surprisingly, because at that point everything was selling like, it seemed like something would hit the market and it was sold within like 2 days, or pending within 2 days. And I just couldn't figure out why this place was still available. So I drove by here and I looked at it, and then I ended up reaching out to, here's another meant to be situation. I ended up, reaching out to a realtor that was attached to like their realtor.com ad. And the lady was like, actually, I'm boarding a flight, so I can't show the house. She's like, but let me reach out to another realtor and see if she can show you the house today or tomorrow. So then I get a phone call or a text, I can't remember, from this realtor named Chelsea. And so she came out and showed us the house at like, I don't know, Jeff was with me, because at that point, is he still... I think yeah, I was gonna say, so that he is like 7 minutes down the road, and Little Stonehouse is like 7 minutes from the farm. So I'm like, he knows houses because he's bought houses. So I was like, hey, do you mind? Okay, rewind, because I'm like, something's not adding up here. So when I left the Grand Rapids office location and I came up to the office, like 45 minutes from here. When I left, Jeff left also, because the harassment was so bad. Jeff had been at that clinic for 12 years, I think. He had worked there for 12 years, and we became good friends at that point, along with the whole team. And everybody on my team saw what was going on, and they wrote letters. There was a lot of like, our whole team was trying to help. There was like a whole lot of like just harassment going on in general with everything. And I think because I wouldn't suck up to leadership and I wouldn't suck up to like management like a lot of the other people would, I didn't want the gifts. I didn't want to participate in talking bad about everybody else. I just wanted to do my job. I didn't even have time to do my job. I don't know how the heck people had time to gossip and start stuff and be icky people. Like, I didn't have enough time in the day to do my own job. I was so far behind because, again, I was doing multiple people's jobs. And I was like, wow, why is this even an issue here? Like, we're here to do our jobs. And I'm like, I can't even do my job because you guys are like... So I think because I didn't click and blend with them, that they did it. I have no idea, to be honest, because I literally was just trying to do my job. And so the harassment and all that got bad enough. My team was trying to help. They were like filing stuff and like reporting stuff. And we were all reporting stuff from different levels. But a problem is... with that, I'm sure all federal government, especially with that brand, you can only report something so far, because sadly from like management up, it just gets more corrupt, at least at this particular location. So it's like, yeah, you can report something, but unfortunately everybody up here is buddy. So yeah, you report something, but now you look like the bad guy because you reported their buddy, and then now they tell their buddy that you reported them because they were doing something illegal. And then now they're going to make your life and job even worse. So it got to the point where finally I did report something, because I was like, this is insane. Like, patients are complaining in the lobby. Like, multiple patients were complaining. They were asking to speak to higher up leadership. Like, there was just a lot of stuff going on that should not have been going on. And again, so then finally, you report something and then they just make your life and job even harder. So that's when my team jumped in and they were trying to so long story short, I ended up transferring and leaving and coming to this other clinic, and so did Jeff. Jeff had it and he was like, this is absurd. So he ended up quitting his job, or not quitting, but transferring and going to this other facility with me as well. And so when I was still living in Holt. No, was I still living? God, I can't remember. So much happened. I can't remember if I was still living in Holton at that time. it all happened like within like a 2-week period of like me get like, because my lease was up over there and me moving into this place and then transferring jobs, and there was a whole lot of stuff happening again. So I fell in love with this place, and that's a whole other, I won't get into crazy detail about this place because, again, I'm getting way off topic. So if you guys want to know more about the story of Little Stonehouse, how this all worked out, the whole story with my realtor and how that was meant to be, let me know, comment below, and I'll make a whole other video. I can do a whole other video of like more detail into this stuff if you guys want. Just ask like what you guys want to know more information about, because I don't feel bad this video is getting really long. So fast forward, the owner ended up letting me rent this house until we could get the place closed on, because unfortunately it needed a new well, septic, furnace. It needed all this stuff before it would pass code so we could close on it. The seller was going through bankruptcy. There was a lot happening when I was trying to buy this house. So, but at the same time, I was like, I need a place to live in like a week because my lease is running out and I have nowhere to go. And again, I have a pet chicken. I'm like, and a house full of stuff that I need to move. So she was like, absolutely. She's like, I'll just charge you rent. And you rent until we figure it out and get it closed. So that's what I did. So fast forward to the job that I have been working at for the last 2 years, 3 years, 3 years, I think. I want to say 3. I think it was like 22 that I started. Yeah, I want to say it was like 2022 when I started this job up here. I was really excited about it because it was a small clinic. And compared to the other one, which was massive, I thought maybe that was half the issue, because, you know, you get into big clinics, like anything, you get into big clinics, you get a lot more corrupt, I feel. So I was like, oh, it's a small clinic. It'll be more kind of like, you know, my prior jobs that were small. You know, everybody knew each other. We're all friends and family. We all helped each other. I was so excited about starting this new job. I was hopeful. I was like, gosh, I'm just so ready to just forget about that last one. And that last one literally, I felt like caused me so much. I'm usually not the type of person that says like, oh, I have anxiety or PTSD. Like, I'm not that person to like throw that around. But I genuinely 100% feel like that place gave me PTSD. I mean, I could not even express the garbage that I went through that place. I should have left. I honestly should have left like just a few months in when everything really started to get bad, and I was up there doing 5 people's jobs or 4 people's jobs, you know, and my other coworker was there. I should have just been like, screw this. But then again, I really stayed because of my team. Like, I didn't want to leave my one coworker that was still working up there with me. I didn't want to leave my, you know, Jeff and my other 2 people on the team, because we had each other's backup. So I 100% stayed because of them. I was not about to walk out and leave everybody stranded, because we were family. We didn't, you know, it's not like I have family with the whole clinic, but at least we had a very close group. And that if I didn't have them, I would have left like within the first probably couple of months. I would have been like, oh, now this is terrible. So fast forward to the new clinic. Unfortunately, it was not any better. It was, I want to say as bad, but it's pretty, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to go down the tangent of everything, but there was just, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like going from one frying pan into another, and I tried to be like friendly and buddies with everybody, you know, like trying to be like start conversation, try to talk about like personal stuff to like, you know, and I would like the first day that I walked in, I was like, hey, good morning, you know, and I think like 2 people out of everybody like turned around and like actually looked at me. Everybody else didn't even like acknowledge me. And then after that, when I would come in and say, hi, good morning, like most of the time, nobody would even turn around or say good morning. Most of the time, it was just kind of like, and I'm like, you know, like it's not hard just to say, like that makes the atmosphere so much better first thing in the morning. Say good morning. Hey, how was your evening? You know, having to do anything exciting last night after work, or, you know, like, or, oh, I like your shirt, or oh, I like your shoes today. That's such a cute outfit combo. Like, it's not hard to be a nice person. I just could not. It's like the complete opposite. That was the most walking on eggshells. And the one thing that really, I think it was my first week or 2 there, and I was working in the corner, like trying to learn this, like learn everything and their way of doing things. And, you know, they're all like chatting with one another. And the one girl gets up and walks off, and then they start talking garbage about her as soon as she walks off. And I'm like, well, that's not nice. So then, you know, a little while she comes back, and then a little while later, another one, you know, walks off, and then they start talking about her. And I'm like, oh, this is not a good plan. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a not. I was like, I jumped from one frying pan into the next. I'm like, these are all a bunch of backstabbing, like, mean people. So the ongoing joke as I worked there, especially toward the very tail end with myself and a couple others, was, if you guys ever watched the movie Mean Girls, that would be the best description of that place in a nutshell. 100% the Mean Girls. That was them. They were just like this. And then they would act nice to your face. That was the worst thing. They would act nice to your face, but then you would hear, like, I was friends with a couple. Like, I wasn't friends with a lot of people there, but I was friends with a select few that I felt like I could really trust. And I would get feedback, like, you know, the things that they were saying about him, and I'm like, what is wrong with y'all? I'm like, and it just, so then, you know, then you go to work, and you really, like, you obviously know what they're saying about you, and I'm like, it's hard to, like, want to be friendly and be, like, family-ish with them. It's kind of like, just don't even talk to me. Like, I know your true colors. You're not a nice person. Like, just don't talk to me. So then it got to the point where I was like, just let me, it literally got to the point where I was like, I ended up working in this closet, like in the back, and it was wonderful because it was quiet. I didn't have to like listen to all the drama and the chatter and gossip going on in the clinic, and I could just do my job. And that's pretty much what my goal was. Is I was trying to get to my 5-year mark with the federal government. Because if you can get to your 5-year mark, then you keep your retirement, and then when you retire, you get paid, you know, for that. Otherwise, if you quit before then, you don't. You get to keep like the retirement you've put in, but the retirement they've put in, they goes away. But I still would get to keep like my TSP, so like my 401k. I still get to keep like what I put in for pension, Medicare, all that. Pretty much I keep everything but the portion they've paid in for my pension. And to be honest, like, now that I've worked for federal government for a period, for probably like 6 years now, because I worked, the year that I worked at the commissary did not count toward my 5-year mark, unfortunately. But what I learned in the 6 years that I worked for the federal government is their benefits really aren't that great, let me tell you. Because when I worked at Lake Medical Imaging, their retirement was 1 billion times better. Their insurance, all of it was way better than what I got working for the federal government. Only thing different was you got pension for the federal government. That was the only freaking difference. And to be honest, like, I think the federal government, they pay in like, is it 6%? So if you pay in whatever you want for your 401k or TSP, they only contribute, I think it's like 6 or 7%. When I worked at Lake Medical, it was 100%. You put $200 in, the doctors put $200 in. They matched it at 100%. You mean to tell me some small little medical clinic could do that, but the federal government can't? But don't even get me started. So it really, like, toward the very tail end of last year, I was trying so hard to make it to this February 28th was my 5-year mark for working for federal government. I was trying so hard to make it to that time point so I could keep like that side of the retirement. And so fast forward, that was one big reason I was like wanting to get started with YouTube and really push getting into the antiques. I was really trying to push to follow my dream and my gut and what really made me happy, because I knew I had to get away from that place, because working around that type of environment, I mean, I'd be in my little closet working and they would still come in and start stuff. They would still be in, oh, well, such and such is saying this, and oh, such and such is saying this or doing this, and I was like, I don't care. I'm like, let me do my job. And I'm like, if someone has something bad to say about me, I don't know why, because I don't leave my little closet here. Like, I come in from outside, I sit down, I do my work, and then I go home. Like, I don't communicate with anybody. So how someone has something to say about me is beyond me. I'm literally just doing my job. You guys seem to make drama out of nothing. And they would just always come in and harass me about stuff. And I'm like, leave me alone. Like, I don't care. Well, let me do my job. So it got to the point where the last straw was they wanted me to move back out to the front from my closet to work with all the girls again, because of this new system that they were putting in. And because of the new system, they needed everybody to learn hands on deck, and everybody had to work back at the front again, and they were getting rid of my position as call center, and we're all going to answer phone calls, and I had to work at the front. And I was like, oh gosh, no. I'm like, typically I would be a-okay with that, because when I worked at Lake Medical, I worked front desk. I loved that because I could interact with people, interact with my coworker. Like, I typically would love, like in the past, I've loved front desk. But unfortunately, the group of people that I would be working with were not very nice. And I just absolutely refused to go back out there. So and I already told leadership my goal anyway was to make it to February 24th. And again, this is last October, so I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, I was going to leave once I got my 5 years in. I was just trying to make it to, and they wanted me to stay to my 5 years too. But when they came at me, were like, well, sorry, we don't have an option. You have to work at the front. I'm like, well, unfortunately, then I am going to here's my 2-week notice, because I'm not working at the front. And I told them, I was like, I have wrote you guys emails with screenshots and all the issues, the attitudes and pushback, and just all the issues I've had, like just within the last couple of months. It wasn't even like way back, because I don't document stuff, because it's like I'm not that type of person that's going to be like, well, such and such did this and such did that, and I don't care. I'm doing my job. I don't care what you guys are doing. And if you guys, like, when they were being mean, like, I would just ignore the message or respond back with something nice, hoping, like, killing meanness with kindness kind of thing would be, didn't work there. Let me tell you, it did not work there. So I never really documented anything, because I just am not that type of person that like feels, I'm not a grudge like holder. I just kind of like turn my cheek, whatever, let me do my job kind of thing. So right up to the last, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 months before I left, I started documenting stuff, and I would send all of leadership all these like screenshots and all this stuff, like, this is the issue I'm having, this is the garbage that I've been dealing with, like, do something about it. And they would say they would do something about it, but nothing ever changed, nothing ever came out of it, except for I felt like I would get treated worse by, the people I worked with, because now they know that I said something, so I got treated even worse. So it just so when they confronted me with, well, this is what we've got to do, and I was like, that's fine. I totally get you guys got to do what's right for your company, or I get it. But unfortunately, I am not going to be a part of that change. I told you guys I will stay if I can stay working in this closet, because I want to do my job, and I don't want to deal with the drama in this facility. I just want to do my job. And I'm like, so Unfortunately, if I can't stay working in my little closet away from all of it, and I have to work out there with them, then that's okay. Here's my 2-week notice. I wish you guys all the best. And have a great day. And that's pretty much where it ended. And I gave them my 2-week notice. I did not have really a backup plan because I didn't have a job lined up. But I knew coming out of... And I knew when I was planning on leaving in February, I was not going to get back into another corporate job. I felt so mentally, physically, emotionally sick from working at those two. It's the same title, federal government, but it's just two different locations. And after working at those two separate locations, I just felt like I'm not meant to work around those types of people. I'm not. I am a bubbly, happy, talkative, easy-go-lucky person. I'm used to being able to talk to people and communicate with people, and I'm very good at jobs that I do. Very good. And like I told leadership there, if you guys reach out to any of the directors or management at any prior jobs that I've worked at, they would say that you guys are the problem because they've never had an issue with me. I get along great with everybody, and I've never had a bad experience. And then I come to these two clinics and I'm like, holy cow, what is wrong with you guys? This is so dysfunctional. This is not how it's supposed to be. It doesn't have to be like this. So I just absolutely when I walked out of that, the best part about it was when I handed my 2-week notice, I had some vacation saved up. So I took my vacation, I put all my vacation in, and I pretty much didn't go back for the remaining of my 2 weeks because it worked out because I already had vacation off because I was going to go to Florida. Oh, I had an antique show. That's what it was. I had an antique show coming up. So I think I had 4 days off or 5 days off already for the antique show. So it worked out perfect. So I already had time off. So then I just used up the rest of my vacation to fill in the remaining 2 weeks. And I just was I will not be here for the remaining 2 weeks. So today's my last day kind of thing. And it was wonderful. When I walked out of there, I felt like 500 pounds got lifted off my shoulder. I felt honestly like I could breathe. I was holy cow, the amount of weight and stress. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if you guys have ever been in a situation like that, whether it was a relationship, a job, where it physically made you sick. You guys, I was sick. I felt I was God, something is not right with me. I just feel it was 100% the job. Just working around those types of people that have that type, it's so not me. I've tried it different ways to try to because I'm totally the person, I get people are going through things, and I totally get that. Everyone's going through something, so you treat people you always be nice to people because you don't know what people are going through. 100%, that's how I live my life by, you never know what people are going through. People could be smiling, but there's a lot going on behind closed doors. Totally get that. But one of the things that leadership told me when I was handing my 2-week notice, because they were saying one of the girls was going through some stuff, and I think the one thing that kind of made me you know what, I'm sick of making excuses. I'm sick of excuses for people that just have really terrible attitudes, that really need to find themselves and meet Jesus. Because my one supervisor was because I was saying how they've been acting and X amount of issues that I've had with that said person, and they're oh well, she's going through XYZ. So, and I was that doesn't give you the right to come into work and treat people like garbage because you're dealing with something at home. Be my mom was dying, I got into a car accident, I had to get out of my house. I said I also went through a divorce. And not once did I ever treat anybody around me like garbage. You know, it's like, and then when my mom died, I almost lost my dad a month later because of a ruptured appendix, and he had to go in for emergency surgery a month after my mom had died. I just got back to Hawaii. And I mean, not once, I get like people handle things differently, but don't use that as an excuse to treat people like garbage. And when my supervisor said that to me, I was like, you really don't. That's why you have so many issues here, is because you make excuses for everybody's bad behavior. I'm like, I get like maybe I handle things different than other people, but we like, just don't ever treat people bad. I don't care what you're going through. Like, be nice to people. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all, period. Like, it's just not hard to be a nice human being. It's just not. So it really tinkled in my cornflakes when he said that. I was like, I'm so glad I'm getting out of here, because it's like trying to explain logic to someone that just doesn't understand logical things. I don't know. So long story short, I left, and I didn't really have a backup plan because I wasn't planning on leaving them for a few more months, but I just had the best feeling about it. I was like, you know what? I feel completely at peace with this decision. I don't feel stressed. I don't feel like, what am I going to do for money? Because again, I have a nest egg. I have a good chunk. Like, I have, you know, like, always have a nest egg. I got a nest egg, so I don't have to worry about bills for a while. I just felt completely at peace about it. I've been praying about it. I felt like it was my time to close that chapter and move on to the next. And it's gave me more time to focus on posting more videos. It's gave me more time to focus on remodeling the inside of the house. Now I'm getting on Etsy. So I kind of like I still really don't know what's going to happen, you know? I'm just completely winging it. I have a great feeling about all of it. I definitely feel like I'm finally pushing and going toward my dreams. Like, I'm actually like doing what I enjoy and what I love, and it's slowly turning into something. So I just feel like I still don't know what's gonna happen. I still don't know what the future holds. I just know that at that point in time, I had the biggest push to leave, get away from that, to heal. I really feel like I mentally, physically, emotionally had a lot of healing to do from that place. Because just being in that type of, it just affects me so much. I'm sure other people could just be like, whatever, but being around just that kind of like atmosphere, people, it just affects me. So I just cannot be around those types of people. I'm doing so much better. I'm doing so much better. I'm kind of just relying on YouTube, Etsy, because I just started that up like 3 weeks ago, so that's a new kind of string for revenue. But like I said, I've only had 3 sales, so it's just slowly getting there. And then the antique shows is another one that I'm just gonna do. And then I'm hoping to have the Florida property done here by this fall. So then once that's done, then I'm going to Airbnb that, and I'm really hoping that does well so I can make money off from that. So I just kind of have like a bunch of like different little things going on. It's starting to take off. It's very slow. It's not like, you know, like I said earlier about the whole like YouTube paycheck thing. I don't really know what's going on with that, but I'm not stressed about it. I'm not worrying. Everything always works out, and I keep telling myself that. I know this from many scenarios in my life, you know. It's like things always work out as they should, always. So I refuse to stress about it. I just pray about it. I feel positive. I feel like things are moving in the direction they're supposed to be. I feel like I'm finally putting myself first and chasing my dream and what truly makes me happy. And that was one of the things that I told my job when I left. I was like, you know what? I never put myself first. I never stand up for myself, ever. That's one thing I'm horrible about, is putting It's like defending myself and putting myself first, and like learning to say no. I'm always like, oh, it's okay, and then I'm like crying and miserable, and because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I'm so bad about that. I've really gotta work on that. So when that all happened with me leaving the job, that was one of the things I said. I was like, you know what? For the first time in my life, I'm sticking up for myself and I'm putting myself first. And that's what I did. And that was the biggest thing, to just kind of like walk out of there and be like, I wish you guys all the best, but I am focusing on me and putting myself first. And that's what I'm doing. So it's just kind of slowly growing and slowly, but it's okay. It'll happen the way it's supposed to, when it's supposed to. So fast forward to now, Jeff and I. So the story about Jeff and I. So now that you guys kind of have like a backstory of everything with my life over the last 6 years, really. Now I can start like explaining where, kind of like how Jeff and I's story started. So I don't even know where to begin. We started off working together, and from March 2021 is when we first met. We were co-workers. We, all kind of grew as a team. We all kind of we just kind of grew as a work family, a team, and we were a phenomenal team. We really all got to know each other, especially as all that stuff was going on and how I was being treated. And we just all of us got really close. And then we both left and transferred up here. That was a huge step kind of in our friendship, because I've never had anyone, especially a friend, quit their job more or less to stick up for me. That was such a huge, I was just really nice. It was just so nice. Like someone actually did that for me. So for the last 4 years, we've just kind of just been like best friends. It started off, like I said, as co-workers, and we have just been has really grown into such a pure, wonderful best friend relationship. We have been through a lot, with moving over here and helping me, he's helped me fix up the house, and there's been so much that he's been a part of with my life and helping me, especially as just being a friend, emotionally. I don't know how else it's so hard to describe, I feel like, our friendship. Because from the very beginning when we worked together, as I started talking about all the things that were happening at work, they kind of opened up and talked about stuff, and then Jeff and I really started talking about life. And I'm such a in-depth kind of person. I feel like I could talk to anybody about everything. I mean, life, losing parents, insecurities, like me talking earlier about starting a YouTube channel and how it truly made me feel, and difficulties that I had. And then I can sit and talk to someone about UTI issues, or anything. I love having deep conversations with people. I'm not a superficial, oh, the weather's pretty today, have a great day. It's nice to do, obviously if you're working it's busy, but I'm very much totally can have a conversation and talk about anything with anyone. I just like to be surrounded by good, sincere people. I just like good-hearted, sincere, genuine people. That's really all I want in my life anymore. I don't have time for any of the other stuff. I'd rather just be by myself before I'd want to be around people like that, which is most of the time I feel like is why I like being by myself, because I feel like it's hard to trust people. So with him and I felt like from our early friendship, we just kind of connected really deep in that area. Like there was so much that we talked about that we really could relate, from like relationship stuff, childhood stuff, work, careers, how, you know, you've been treated your entire life, health stuff, horse stuff, farming, work ethics. We're both very old-souled, old-minded, but young at heart people, very much. So I felt like him and I could just talk for hours about everything. Everything. And that's kind of how our friendship grew, is just working together and dealing with, you know, work stuff. And then we'd all have like lunch together and all talk about different things. And it just grew from there. And we've been friends for, let me see, this March, next month will be 5 years that I've known him. And we've been friends for 4 years, just within the last year, I would say. Yeah, just within like maybe last year, we officially kind of decided to be more than friends. And I know like some people that's like really weird because there's such a large age gap. But to be fair, like I said earlier, I'm very old-souled. I grew up hanging around my friends' parents, my friends' grandparents. I loved learning stuff from them. I love old stuff. Clearly, I love antiques. I love old homes. I'm not like a lot of people my own age at all. I'm just not. I have a lot of friends my age, but I also have a lot more friends that are older than I am. And I can just relate a lot more with older people typically. And he's kind of the same way. He's very, like, we're both very much the same way. He grew up with older people, but he's very young at heart. So he's used to he's just used to being active and going and working hard and doing things. And he's not your typical, like, sit around and, like, do nothing all day type of person, that's when, like, going back to people that I've dated in the past, I've only been in 4 serious long-term relationships in my entire life. They've all been very, very, like, long-term, serious type relationships. And every person that I've dated, I would say only one, my very, very first boyfriend, I would say was the most, like, old-souled kind of. We were kind of the same, I would say, soul-wise. But everybody else was we were the same age, or maybe they were a year or two older, but they were too mentally young for me. I felt like I was taking care of, I was their mother. I really felt like I was way ahead of them than where they were in life, you know. It never worked for obvious reasons. Now that I'm older, I look back and I'm like, it's as clear as day why it never worked and why it would have never worked. Granted, I'm grateful for the experience because it made me who I am today, and I've learned a lot from those relationships, but I did grow a lot from it, and I learned a lot that I am just, most guys my age I will not get along with because I'm a very active person. I'm a very go-getter. I require a lot from a guy. I do. I require a lot. And unfortunately, a lot of guys my age do not meet those requirements, you know. And it's nothing against them. It's like anyone. Your person's out there. You just, no fault. It's all part of the learning process. I feel like when you're younger, you know, and that's my biggest thing that I tell, like, younger people is focus on yourself. And I get when you're younger, you know, you're like, oh, you know, your dream is to find, you know, your forever husband and get married and have a cute little house and have babies. And that's every girl's like, you know, when you're young, you dream about your wedding, you dream about like all these things. But in reality, it ain't like that. It's just not. It's sad. I kind of wish someone would have been more realistic with me when I was a kid, because I felt like I was a very like smart, mature kid, and I wish people would have talked to me like I was kind of an adult when I was a kid, because that's how I thought, and how I wanted to be talked to. And I wish people would have been like, there's really no such thing as a fairy tale, like focus on yourself, focus on learning yourself, things that you like, things that you don't like. Pick up new hobbies, do everything you can by yourself, because that'll help you figure yourself out, and you'll learn that you don't need to be with someone because you're used to being by yourself and doing things on your own. You don't need that companionship. You don't need money from a guy. You don't need reassurance from a guy. You don't need all these things that you feel like you do when you're young. You know, you need validation from the guy. You want them to be, you know, like, it's just, there's so much that's just so wrong about that. You need to set it up for yourself, so that way you can be selective on who you pick. They're picking you because of you, and you're picking them because you are a good fit and you have a lot in common and you have the same values and morals, and you truly are in love with each other. That's another one I feel like that I myself made the mistake of, is especially like in the beginning, of course you're in love with a person, it's the honeymoon stage, but then I feel like so many people, including myself in prior relationships, you get in this rut where you love the person but you're no longer in love with the person. And that's a big thing to kind of sit back and really think about. And if you're really like not in love with them, there's a big difference between loving the person and being in love with the person. There's a huge difference between the two. And that was one thing I felt like with Jeff and I, is we just truly valued our friendship so much that it, like, I don't know, a couple of years ago, because we discussed it, like, I want to say about 2 years, because about a year ago is when we kind of decided to, like, maybe we should just say that we're a couple, because I feel like we're like, kind of coupley, you know, like we do everything together, we talk, and we just truly enjoy being around each other so much. And we're really each other's like best friends. I'm like, I can't imagine myself dating anybody else. And even though we weren't dating, I couldn't imagine, like, I think that was the two big things for us was, that was one of the things that he said early, like I want to say a year or two ago, when we were kind of discussing, like, you know, like maybe thinking about dating, you know, like, we were discussing like kind of having deep feelings for each other, like more than just friendship, you know, he was like, well, regardless of whatever, he's like, I want you to be a part of my life. He's like, whether that's in a relationship, that's a friendship, I don't want anything to jeopardize where you're no longer a part of my life, because we really are so special to each other. We really take care of each other. We really watch out for each other. We stand up for each other. We really pay attention to the deep details of what makes each other happy, what makes each other upset, and we try to do, like, what makes each other happy, we try to do more of that. What makes each other sad or upset or whatever, do less of that. Like, life's so short as it is. Why would you want to be miserable? Why would you want to make each other's life miserable? Why would you want to make smart comments or criticize or, like, no part of it? I feel like again, I've been in plenty of relationships like that, where it's like, why are we even together? Like, if you don't truly, again, if you love the person, are you in love with the person? Because if you're in love with the person, you are actively trying to make that person happy. You're trying to do what you can to delight them, to and that's the thing, is it's obviously it's got to be a both way thing. So, and that's, I feel like with both of us, we're just actively looking at how do we delight the other person? How do we make the other person smile? We're each other's safe place. We can talk to each other about anything and everything. And there's never any judgment. There's never any criticism. It's safe. He's safe with me. I'm safe with him. That's how our friendship has been since the very beginning. And that's what's been so incredible about us, is it's very, very slowly grown into more than just a friendship. And like I said, just within the last year, it really has become, it's such a weird transition to go from friends to, oh, we're like, he's my better half, he's my partner, he's my person. That's such an incredible thought to think about and to say out loud. He's my person. He's the person that I know at the end of the day, no matter what happens, because we have been through some stuff, he's got my back, I've got his. We support each other. We cry on each other's shoulders. Everything can come crashing around each other. We can lose everything, and we would still stand side by side and hold each other's hands and figure it out. We're just an incredible, incredible team. I can't even explain how wonderful of a man he is. We just have had the most incredible friendship, and it's so strange for me to transition from being best friends into he's my best bud, So, and the thing that took us so long to officially decide to be you know what, let's do this. Let's just be a couple. Was, like I said, we had the conversation a little over a year ago. So much has happened, I can't keep track with the dates, but about a year and a half ago, we had the conversation about being more than just friends. Because again, we couldn't imagine dating anybody else. We couldn't imagine not being a part of each other's lives. And it really got to the point where I'm like, okay, if one of us dated somebody else, that would feel like, I feel like I would be cheating, even though we're not physically a couple, and publicly or physically, or, I just felt like I would be cheating and vice versa, and that was kind of the determining thing, maybe we should, not care what people think and just be happy together, because that was one of the biggest things that we were so back and forth about, was the age gap. Obviously, that's a very big, that's a huge thing. And especially, I know our biggest thing is we knew we were going to get a lot of hate and negative feedback from people about it. So we were we were so back and forth about there's just no way that we could really ever date, because for family, friends, strangers, we would get so much negative feedback, and people would be so mean that it would be really hard to see past it. It would just really get to you eventually where you're oh, maybe we shouldn't, And so that was the big issue for the last year and a half. And then, the whole age gap of my biggest worry is I get into my 50s or 60s and then I no longer have him. That is what bothers me the most. I would say when you find your person, you find your best friend, and then you're kind of dealt with something like that is that's not very fair, but then I kept telling myself, I would rather have There's different ways you can look at that. I would rather have 30, 40 phenomenal years with my soulmate than I would rather have 60, 70 years with a jerk that I'm miserable with, you know? It's like I think about like people that I've dated, and I'm like, I could not imagine. I would much rather have 30, 40, however long, amazing years with my soulmate than the other. And then another way I like looked at it was I could die first. You know, or something can happen. We could both get in a car accident and we could both die. You don't know. Life happens. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So just live life. Who cares? And that was the big thing. I think we both, like I said, about a year, I wouldn't even say a year ago, really. I would say less than a year ago. Maybe like 7, 8 months ago, maybe, is when we like officially decided to like, we're going to do this. Who cares what people think? Who cares? Like, I'm so sick of having that live in my head, that worrying about what people are going to think, what people are going to say, what, you know, who cares? They're not living my life. I'm not living theirs. Like, my biggest thing is I don't care what other people do. And that's what always has bothered me so much with life is I don't care what other people do. Live your life. If you're happy, I'm happy for you. Like, I just want to see people happy. I love seeing people happy, and I don't understand why people can't ever feel that way, you know, for anybody else, and especially like me. And like, so like I said, just in the last few months, we were finally like, you know what? Who cares? Let's just be us. Let's be a couple. If people don't like it, then they don't need to be a part of our lives. It's that simple. And I feel like I just turned 32 in November, and I feel like that has just the last like a few months has really been like a huge eye-opener for me that I've hit, where I'm like, I don't care what people think anymore. I'm going to live my life the way I want to live it. I'm happy. For the first time in my life, I'm happy. I pulled myself away from a horribly toxic work environment. I've pulled myself out of a horrible marriage. I have dug myself out of really bad situations coming out of those two places mentally, you know, like when you're around like narcissist people and narcissist ex-husband, and if you guys have ever been in it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It takes years sometimes to get yourself out of that trench, out of just, it's hard. And I have just felt like I have stayed in relationships way longer than I should have because I was afraid of hurting someone's feelings, or I didn't want to upset the family, or I didn't want to like, you know, look bad, or I've spent so much of my life catering to worrying about what people are going to think or how they're going to feel that I have neglected how I have felt and how I feel and what truly makes me happy. And I feel like just in the last year and a half, I have finally started like really like starting the YouTube channel and talking to my friend that's the hairdresser, and like then you guys commenting such nice and sweet wonderful things, and so many just little things like that have really encouraged me and kind of got me out of my shell to like, I feel like I'm starting to blossom. I feel like I'm not caring what mean people think. I'm living my life. I'm happy. We're happy. I have an incredible relationship with this incredible man. We just love being around each other. We do everything together. We love having horses, and we enjoy the same kind of horse riding, and we enjoy farming, and we enjoy old antiques and antique shows and remodeling houses, and we enjoy bird watching, and we enjoy like good food, and we just enjoy everything together. We're just so good for each other's soul. You don't find that very often in people, let alone a relationship. I just feel like the most luckiest woman in the world ever to just be where I'm at. And I'm not anyone special. I'm not making bukus of money. You guys, I told you earlier what I'm clearly not like, but I'm happy, and I just want to live simple, and I want to enjoy my life, and I want to enjoy our life together, and I just want to be surrounded by wonderful people and wonderful animals and family and good antiques, and like I enjoy going out and my chickens are happy to see me and they jump up on my arm and I snuggle them, and and my dogs and my horses and my pet rabbits and my pet rescue pigeon, and there's just so much that I'm just so grateful for. And I feel like this last year has just been such a reprogramming my mind and just getting back to what makes me happy and living simple. And like I said, just being surrounded by good people, good pets. And I'm so incredibly grateful for you guys for, if you're tagging along this far. I think this is about going to be like a 3-hour long video at this point. I'm so sorry. I'm a yapper, but at least now you guys kind of know my backstory a little bit, and I think I covered all the questions, I hope. So at least you guys kind of know like where I come from, and to a degree there's a lot more. Like I said, like if you guys want to know more about anything in specific or anything else, comment below. Any other questions, even YouTube questions, Etsy questions, any questions, comment below. I'd be more than happy to answer them for you guys. If I can help you guys in any way with anything, or hopefully if all else comes out of this video, hopefully maybe I encouraged one of you. Maybe one of you needed to hear this video to realize you're not alone. And I get it. I'm right there beside you. I'm not behind you. I'm not in front of you. I'm beside you. And you need someone to talk to. If you live close by, like Central Michigan, send me a message on my Facebook page. Facebook page would probably be the easiest. And I would totally let's go get coffee and hang out. If you need just someone to encourage you to get started on YouTube or Etsy, or just to get out of a bad job situation or a bad relationship situation, you just need a friend that gets it and listen and guide. I got you. Don't be like me and wait years to do something because you're all up in your head and you just I so get it. So I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys following along on my journey. I'm so incredibly grateful. I know I keep saying that, but I really, really am. I just appreciate you guys watching so much. And hopefully my videos are still doing okay for you guys. I'm learning, and it's a learning curve. So I'm getting there. All right, I think that's it. I'm gonna try to get off here before hopefully YouTube doesn't have a max limit of how long your videos can be, because they're gonna be like, lady, you need to shorten your videos. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and like I said, comment below any questions and I'll be happy to do another Q&A for you guys. And hopefully I answered everything. I feel like after I get off, I'm gonna be like, gosh darn, I should have said this, or I forgot to say this. I know that's gonna happen. I just know it. So okay. I'm getting off. See you guys. Thanks again. Have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.